Good morning. It is Monday, February 3rd, 2025. I'd like to call this school board workshop to order. Please stand for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We've got a lot of presenters this morning, so we're going to jump right in. I don't think we got any public input cards. Is that correct?
Right.
Perfect. All right, moving right along. Item 3.01, RFQ for Eustis High School Construction Manager, Mr. Ollie Zachary.
Good morning, members of the board. Present. There we go. All right. So the information is the same as last time, with the exception that the evaluation criteria is a little bit different. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to fast forward and I'm going to talk about the evaluation criteria. So we have 5 vendors that will be presenting today. Wharton Smith, Charles Perry, Wellbro, Williams Company, DE Scorpio. We received 9 bids for this RFQ, and 5 were shortlisted for today. This is the evaluation criteria for the presentations. They were asked to respond to their knowledge of the site, proposed scope of work, and local codes and ordinances. The other one is overall approach and methodology, their construction materials cost, and project coordination and safety. This is the evaluation criteria. Each presenter will have 20 minutes, and then followed by a 10 to 15-minute Q&A. Any questions about the information?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
Do we have a new timer?
Yes.
Good morning, board.
Sorry, that's just to start. Sorry.
Boy.
Time's up.
So glad we got that.
We should have practiced. I like that one.
Yeah, I know.
What's up?
Let me fix this first. I think I messed it up.
Must have been a low bid timer.
Wow.
Like at individual seconds.
1 second at a time.
I'm gonna set it here.
Yeah, I know. Okay, there we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you'll have 20 minutes. This is your timer, and it will show you 1 minute. It will turn red. Okay, so keep track. When you speak, use the microphone. The clicker is over there, and you'll have 2 minutes to introduce yourselves, and then we'll start the clock.
Thank you. Dominic Giannini, president of GSB Construction. I will be the local partner teaming with Wharton Smith on this project.
Robert Terwilliger, project superintendent.
Ariel Rolon, project manager, main point of contact.
James Magnette, Senior Pre-Construction Manager. I'll be dealing with cost and value engineering.
I'm Jim Clean. I'm a project executive for Wharton Smith, and I'll provide executive support for the project. And we also have 3 individuals behind us here. That's Ashley Goldberg, Eve Hines, and Jason Berger. They're our subject matter experts. We asked them to be here today for the Q&A portion of this.
Ready?
We are.
Good luck.
So thank you for the opportunity to be here today. We have a lot of great information. Ali, can you please pause that for a second? This is not working. No, this.
Oh, geez.
Okay, we're good now. Okay, sorry about that.
All right.
Starting over. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. We have a lot of great information to share, so let's jump right in and show you how Wharton Smith and GSB can make this project a success for your district. To provide some relevant background, our company has successfully completed over 400 projects on occupied campuses, making us experts in the safety protocols and daily operations required in these environments. Additionally, we have over 750 team members. 25 of those live right here in Lake County, and 3 are directly involved with this project. And one of special note, and that's Jason Berger, both of his children attend Eustis High School. So we are very invested in this project. We fully understand the scope of this project, which includes expanding the campus with new classrooms, labs, and spaces for athletics, as well as vocational programs such as the aviation and construction. We're also focused on improving your campus functionality with safety, accessibility by upgrading our parking, the walkways, canopies, lighting, and drainage. After conducting numerous site visits and meeting with Paul Shepard from the City of Eustis and thorough reviews of the as-built drawings provided by your procurement department, we've already mapped out all of the known systems on site, including things such as storm, sanitary, water, the telecom, power, gas, even the fire hydrants. Our subject matter experts were integral in this review, assessing how the new scopes of work will integrate with the existing campus. These efforts are part of our standard operating procedures, and they're at no additional cost to you, the client, helping us refine our estimates and processes while avoiding costly surprises during construction. We've identified and confirmed a few things on site, one of which is the 12-inch city well that provides water service to all the community. We know we're going to have to protect that during construction. In addition, the previous design included a future 300-ton chiller and 8-inch chilled water lines that were already installed. Our subject matter experts reviewed that information and Ziscovich's layouts against the as-built drawings and confirmed that the power, the telecom communications stub outs, and the chilled water lines all set outside of the building footprint, and in fact, they are all sized properly. We did find one fire alarm conduit run that ran across the site, but overall, the designs were very well thought out, so good job to the design team. We also reviewed some of the exterior dining options as it relates to the existing conditions, and as you can see here, there are numerous systems running throughout that courtyard and the walkway. So a concept we have is simply doubling the size of that dining canopy and then placing it outside of all of those systems. This would save costs because we're not having to rework those systems. And this is an example of our value engineering in action. To gain an accurate understanding of the site, we used our laser scanning technology to identify many of the significant elevation changes out here. And as you can see, the elevation changes from 130 feet at the building site down to 96 feet at the stadium level. So based on this data, we'd have to install a pretty robust stormwater management plan that would include a layered approach of silt fences behind the portables at the base of the water flume, all along the west elevation of the property. And then what we do is install a secondary silt fence as a belt and suspenders approach. Because as we start introducing those impervious surfaces, it's extremely important to manage the migration of water, and we're prepared to do that so there are no impacts on the campus. We reviewed Ziscovich's options for a practice field and the introduction of a parking garage, and both seem very viable. We set up the drone and surveyed the wooded area south of the track, noting that there are elevation differences of the softball field at 50 feet and the track at about 35 feet to the bottom of that property. With our past experience, notably Aurelia Cole and Mineola, we have experience in this type of site work. So again, our expertise will guide you through the various options with real-time data, and then will assist in constructability ideas. And the parking garage example that was brought up during Ziskovich's presentation at Hillcrest is one we're also very familiar with because we built it alongside Ziskovich. We also use CourseLab, one of your local precast vendors. So if this becomes a reality, we can bring those folks in as well as people like Durastress to help with the competitive edge. Another consideration during design is the removal of these portables. Once the building is constructed, we have to have a path to get those out. So we'll work with the design team on that. The Eustis codes and ordinances we're very familiar with because both Wharton Smith and GSB Construction has worked directly for the city of Eustis. It's a fantastic relationship. Dominic's working on their utility admin building now. So we're going to have a dedicated team member to ensure compliance to keep the city, the school, and the neighborhood happy. Our approach to all projects includes a foundation of open communication. We believe in transparency, and our team will provide regular updates and will always be available for questions and for suggestions for improvement. When it comes to team integration, collaboration is key. We bring together the Lake County Schools Facilities Group, Principal Clark and his team, the design team, and any other stakeholders that allow us to have one unified team. Dominic and I will provide hands-on leadership throughout the project, ensuring smooth communication and quick decision-making. We listen closely to your needs, and then we tailor, our approach to meet the district's vision, their goals, timeline goals, and then their budget goals. We see this as a partnership, again, working as one team.
And Wharton Smith understands that cost control begins with pre-construction, and here's how we bring value to the CMAR process. Projected cost versus budget. Instead of relying on commodities market data, we use our historical school database to provide precise cost projections. Collaborative design team engagement. With early and ongoing collaboration, we identify value engineering opportunities and maintain the critical 30% cost target strategy. Real-time early procurement tracking. By implementing our real-time tracking database for long lead items, we ensure accurate and timely early procurement packages. And subcontractor and vendor support. We elicit subcontractors and industry vendors at each design phase, giving us more reliable cost options and insights. Value engineering. As you can see on the left, we provide all the comprehensive engineering processes, value engineering processes you'd expect from a strong construction manager. However, what sets Wharton Smith apart is our value-added approach. By combining value engineering concepts, market analysis, quality assessments, and cost-benefit analysis, we truly assess value in relation to cost. In the next slide, you'll see past VE savings that we've occurred at multiple projects, as well as ones that we're looking at for your specific job. And one that we're particularly excited about, the bottom one there, $500,000 potentially, is from a local industry firm, IntelliSteel.
We were very fortunate to visit IntelliSteel's manufacturing facility in Groveland. They specialize in cold form metal framing, as you can see here on the inside, as well as the exterior for structural elements. As James mentioned, there are considerable savings in both material and production, but one of the fantastic qualities that they have is their quality control. It's very appealing to us. And again, this is another example of our value engineering in action, as well as our involving of local businesses to this project.
When managing the project's budget, we take an owner's approach, ensuring every dollar is spent wisely. We make thoughtful decisions to keep costs low. This begins with choosing the correct subcontractors, where we aim to get the best value. This approach gives us the flexibility to handle any inconvenient, any surprises or any extras that may arise in order to not go over budget. We also work hand in hand with the district on managing the ODP process, owner direct purchase. which we have helped save over $1.8 million, showing our commitment to maximizing tax savings. Our quality control process begins with our pre-task meetings, where we'll sit down with the subcontractors before they come out to the job site, review drawings, questions they may have, scopes of work. Next, we'll create mock-ups, which demonstrate the installation method as well as any finishes. Lastly, we'll conduct work-in-place inspections to ensure everything is being installed accordingly. Another key aspect of our quality control is our closeout and warranty services. Marie is our closeout expert and my right hand. She will ensure warranties, O&M manuals, as-built, punch lists are handled promptly for a smooth transition from construction to maintenance. Now, Robert will go into how we track our schedule.
Thank you. So staying on top of schedule is a key to a project's success. We use several tools, including the Primavera P6, which looks at the overall timeline of the project. We also meet with our subcontractors on a daily basis. You have to do this. We go over daily goals to make sure we're meeting them. We remove any roadblocks, and we change plans if we need to. We then take all this information and boil it down to our short interval plans that you see here. And this is what we'll go over at the owner meeting, architect meeting every week, as well as with our subcontractors. So for this project, we'll tackle your bus loop and dining canopies over the summer. We just completed LPA in Aurelia Cole on time. In Mineola, we're tracking well ahead of schedule. So for the 17-month schedule we're showing on your project, I'm confident that we can beat that and save you money.
And one of the key ways that we minimize future schedule impacts is by accurately predicting long lead critical equipment. To do this effectively, we utilize a real-time database which pulls in ongoing project data as well as regular updates from equipment vendors. This table on the side, you'll see lead times first quarter of 2024 versus today. And as an example, switchboards, the smaller amperage, 1500 amp, went from 65 weeks down to 24 weeks, no longer on the critical path. And conversely, impact glass windows went from 26 weeks up to 40 weeks. Those are some of the ways that we can ensure that we stay ahead of these potential delays. It also assures that Robert's not going to kick my butt for not getting him his equipment on time.
We know that Lake County Schools value local business partnerships, and our team shares in that same sentiment. Thanks to a continued partnership with Wharton Smith and Lake County Schools, GSB has seen a significant revenue growth over the last 4 years during our partnership. Our team has helped raise the bar when it comes to local labor participation on the previous 3 projects. And that's translated into most recently our GSB's recent completion of the collaborative spaces at the Aurelia Cole Academy. In addition, with GSB's recent relocation to Leesburg, we are hoping to be Lake County Schools' trusted partner. Based on our history and knowledge of the local labor market, we've set a stringent goal of 45% local labor participation for this project. Based on our history on the previous K-8s, we feel that this is better suited to some of the smaller firms that call Lake County home. Our outreach plan for getting those smaller firms engaged is we're going to host many site visits early on in the process. We're going to schedule outreach events. And then GSB personally will be involved with the assistance of the pre-qualification process for those firms, as well as working and helping them throughout the bidding process. Quickly want to highlight Alexcor and Dale Beasley here, 2 Lake County firms that provided work on Aurelia Cole and Mineola K-8. If it hadn't been for both of those outreach events, it's likely that neither one of those firms would have been involved in either one of those projects. Our team is 100% committed to Lake County and the surrounding communities. Both Wharton Smith and GSB are in partnerships with many of these organizations you see here on the screen: Habitat, Lake Tech, the Education Foundation, as well as some of the local construction academies. Our plan, as Wharton Smith did in the past, is to hire a high school student for an internship during the summer, as well as we look forward to hosting several site visits for the Eustis High School Construction Academy. And being a Lake County resident and business owner, it is going to be my main goal to ensure that local dollars stay local and that we provide opportunities for the next generation.
And we track all industry standard market models such as ENR, US Bureau of Labor Statistics, but most accurate data you can use for understanding the cost of your job is actual cost for school projects. And on this next slide, you'll see some of the school projects that we've been tracking for the past few years for actual data. Again, this is specific school construction data, not national average materials and labor. Finally, a database of over 3,500 pre-qualified subcontractors ensures that you're going to have deep participation and competition with your project, ensuring low cost and high quality.
As part of our commitment to Lake County, we've saved over $2.7 million across past projects through value engineering. We're always looking for ways to deliver savings without sacrificing on quality. For example, by suggesting a different elevation on the Aurelia Coal project, we were able to save over $900,000. And most recently, on the Mineola Horizon Academy, by suggesting alternate materials and alternate manufacturers, we were able to save over $450,000. Another key commitment is to ensure thorough communication throughout the project. We will keep the community, as well as the school, informed of any potential impacts, via neighborhood flyers, yard signs, community engagements, social media, and/or hotlines. As you gather through this next photo, I don't believe they're inviting us to park nearby for easy access. We understand we are guests in your neighborhood. We are dedicated to building good relationships by being responsible neighbors. We will focus on maintaining clean, safe job site, control noise, dust, and managing traffic and parking. Robert will explain how we will mitigate any impacts into the community.
All right, what you see here is our site logistics plan that we came up for this project. We're going to centralize all activities to one location. The softball field is going to be where we'll stage all of our material. We'll route all subcontractors and deliveries through the southeast gate. That way we're avoiding your bus loop and keeping everything contained. Containment is going to be the key to avoiding disruption. Traffic considerations, so we'll have our subcontractors and deliveries use the main roads, and we'll avoid all the school traffic that you see highlighted in green. We know there's a lot of pedestrians there, so we're going to direct everyone to stay out of that area. We'll also coordinate deliveries around your drop-off and pickup times. Zero impact is our goal and commitment for this. All right, for safety, almost.
It won't go. Look.
All right, so for safety, we're working on an occupied campus. I have experience working on Cypress Creek High School as well as Ocoee Middle School, and I can tell you that communication with the school and the project team is the key to the project's success. Really, your kids are our kids. Jason can attest to that. So for this project, we're going to utilize a covered walkway for the emergency egress area where the portables are at. Since the building's going to be where the current egress area is. We'll also add a solid barrier wall just to give you an added layer of defense in those areas. We'd like to add horn strobes on the main building in the CEP. That way, in the event of a fire alarm, those will go off and the job site can shut down. We'll meet with the building department to make sure that we align with their expectations and consult with the fire department for any input on additional safety measures. Last thing I'd like to note is JLA badging will be required with no exceptions.
So why Wharton Smith? Well, our teams have consistently delivered your projects on time and within budget, and our partnership with GSB is going to help us maximize keeping local dollars here in Lake County. We bring unmatched experience, not only with our knowledge of the site and our history with Ziskovich, but also with complex projects in dense residential neighborhoods on occupied campuses. We're dedicated to ensuring the safety of our students, maintaining satisfaction with both the neighborhood and the school, as well as delivering the highest quality and value. As a trusted partner, we're fully invested in the success of this project and your community, and we'd ask you to trust us again. Thank you.
That's been practiced.
Thank you, Wharton Smith team. Any questions, Dr. Luke?
Did you say you were going to stage on the softball field, the existing softball field? That's where the materials will be delivered, all that, of that type
Yes, ma'am.
thing? So I imagine you're opening up that entrance down and then you're going down in there and that upgrade is really high. Like, I just imagine, all I'm envisioning is those giant trucks trying to get down into that entrance and then going up the hill to build up on that site. Like, you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so what we'll do is
Trying to get
we'll
to
be
it
able
so
to
there's
get all,
more
all of our
visual.
materials
I have a good
staged.
visual. Good.
Somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Where did we?
It was towards the end.
Towards the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize, forgive me. You would think as well as we rehearsed this, I would know
Right,
it.
right.
I'm sorry.
So what we want to stay away from the bus loop. We don't want to let people go through this. During summers, that's going to be, more of an option. But we'll be able to get them in here. We'll loop them for like semis to drop block off and everything, and then we'll send them out. Here, we're going to basically build an access road is what we'll do to get up to the building. Yep.
You seen that grade?
Yes, ma'am.
We
Did you hear
have-
that language?
Yeah.
I use that language.
We're used to
There will
working-
be some required work.
We are
there.
used to
Yeah, okay,
working
thank you
on-
for acknowledging that. It's
No,
like
no.
this. I've
Yes,
gone up
yeah.
and down that hill several
It's
times.
actually
It's
12
not.
to 14 feet, and the reason why we selected this side was because this elevation
It's
is much
huge.
greater.
Yes.
This has a little bit more of an easy slope to it, but it's still about, again, 12 to 14 foot difference. So we will have to build this up. We just didn't really illustrate it due to technology and some
Yeah,
other
that
things,
picture
but-
makes it look rather flat, right? It looks really nice. And I'm
Yeah, it
even
does.
thinking of the semi getting in, like even over on that side, I feel like you guys are gonna have to do a little bit of prep work to get in and out of that.
There is to a certain extent, and sometimes we can take and bring folks in, we can offload the materials and then stage them here on site and then bring them up in. Just depends. We also will make recommendations for our suppliers to ensure that they're not using really large trucks. We can get away with that in some cases. Other cases, maybe we do it during off hours on the weekends, meaning when there's nobody on campus. We have deliveries come in and maybe there's an alternate way to get the materials on site to avoid the school's activities. So we definitely will think about every one of those aspects when we're building. It's very, very important to the school, it's very important to the community too. So.
Any others, Dr. Luke? Ms. Cunningham?
No questions, just a comment. I had a phone call from a neighbor, and they expressed a concern, but I heard you take care of that, so I just want to thank you for being considerate of the people that live in the neighborhood, because they are concerned.
Absolutely. We'll go door to door if we need to let everybody know the plan before it happens. So whatever's brought up by you all, what your desires are, we'll make sure that they're happy.
Mr. Dodd?
Well done. I know you've done a number of schools for us already, so I know you've got some experience in that. And so thinking about that and just some of the lessons you might have had as takeaways that you think would be great to your advantage in this particular project, I guess I'm just kind of wondering, some of the feedback I get from folks is that sometimes some buildings look a bit institutional or almost like a jail, when you get a whole bunch of windows in a row, in a big building. What's your role in working with the architect to ensure that this school has the charm that it should have?
Well, I think what we want to do is we want to look at what you currently have on campus, right? I mean, I think that's a big indicator of what the appearance and aesthetic should be of this building. We noticed that there's a lot of brick on this project, so we would assume that would also be the case in this building. I think with the weight rooms, the construction lab, it allows for some creativity on the architect's part to design something that would be aesthetically appealing to everybody and follow along with the historic value of this school. So I think all along the way, we'll do reviews as to how much daylight is being brought into the building, what that front facade looks like, and make suggestions from a cost perspective and constructability, point of view, so that we get the best design for the best value.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mathos?
A comment first and then a question. That Warden Smith, in the spirit of going local and using local, which this board strongly embraces, that you formed a relationship early on with GSB. And I want to tell you that you're one of the last ones that has maintained that integrity of the purpose, and it's appreciated by this board member. So, and I think
Thank you.
that does bring that local connection back. Now my question. So the architect, a strength and a consultant they brought in, did cost control. How do you fit with what they're doing?
I think it really depends on what their final design looks like. What we will do is continuously give them feedback on value engineering approaches throughout the project, through each phase. And by doing so, we just keep pushing back on, is this a cost-effective approach? Is it a quality approach? Is there other options to save money? And the other thing we do is we take those value engineering ideas that are accepted and we put those into the bid process and give the subcontractors the ability to do alternate deductive options, that sort of thing.
So maybe that's where the wheel runs off for me. The idea of having you on board now is so that you're working directly with the architect so that we don't overbuild, over-engineer, and go back to the drawing board with all these changes. Because when that happens, then there's billing time on the engineers and et cetera for them to adjust. So I really was looking for a closer relationship during the design process.
Well, and
To Mr. Dodd's point.
And we do provide that early on. We talk about things. IntelliSteel is one of those. Because it's a delegated design, and just using that as a quick example, that allows them to provide the engineering in lieu of having to pay for it, but it also allows us to do cost studies on things such as CMU, metal framing, and in this case, we can't really do tilt because of the location. But again, early on, we do a lot of reviews as to what materials are going to go into this, what's some of the least expensive, from a cost perspective, to keep prices down. And then we talk about some of the designs. Some of them, again, using that metal framing as an example, could be cheaper than concrete and steel. So again, I would have to say that we do it early so that that 30% estimate that we had talked about in our presentation is consistent. If anything, we're not going over that. We're trying to come under that. We're trying to beat that original number from a budget perspective. And we've been extremely successful on our past projects of providing that type of information to keep the costs down and get competitive bidding.
That would be one that I would think would be introduced in the beginning to the architect. That's my point.
Agreed.
That's the kind of conversation that I'm hoping is going to happen.
100%.
But I didn't know we couldn't do tilt wall. It's not
Well,
possible.
you have there's just challenges because you've got power lines that run all along Fawnstock, and then just getting a crane erected in that area, I think would be challenging. Again, it's a perspective that we've witnessed by all the site visits, but we're more than happy to bring somebody in early to talk about possibly doing tilt. It just didn't seem like it was an
got you.
option based on the existing conditions.
But on that IntelliSteel, so it would be a steel building and we faced with what?
In this case, it could be faced with brick. I mean, again, it's no different than CMU. You're just putting different substrates to marry that finish with.
Thanks. I'm not familiar with them. Thanks.
Yeah, they're a
That's it.
good firm.
Thanks.
I agree, they are a good firm. I'd love to do some more work with them. We've been out there on a couple of visits and would like to do some more with them locally. Great presentation as always. We focused a lot, and rightfully so, on site grading because we've got some pretty significant slope on this site. And I appreciated where we were on trying to make sure we're containing everything on the site during construction. This is not a knock, it's more a question. What did we learn? I agree that everything was designed appropriately, but the outcome of the ACA retaining wall created some issues. So what did we learn from that project that we would bring to this project with a similar slope and trying to maintain water and make sure we've got enough capacity to move that water effectively?
Well, I think what was learned from there is a little bit different in terms of what is actually here. So your building site is actually relatively flat. So if there was some sort of design that brought this into the fold, then of course, we would have to look at those retaining walls, make sure that the designs are adequate, and that they have the proper design, again, to make sure they're withholding that. Plus, all the drainage that, we've learned now, ensuring that drainage is adequate around, at the bottom of the wall, top of the wall. Yeah, there were some definitely lessons learned there. But again, in all, fairness, that was over a 200-year storm that happened out there. And I think that's what was the direct attributed there. But again, that lesson learned allows us to know that we have to make sure that these storm systems are away from the wall. And that we're being extremely conscious as the design proceeds to have the right type of system in place. The other part to this, if we're talking about going down to the wooded area, I mean, a 50-foot elevation difference, 35-foot elevation difference, if you were going to raise that, you'd have to consider those retaining walls and how the community is going to be affected because it would be adjacent to. We did some rough takeoffs on that, and if you bring in fill to raise it to get it up to the, just say the track level, the field level, that's around 78,000 cubic yards. It equates to almost $2.5 million placing and compacting. And then you probably have another $500,000 to $1 million in retaining walls because I can't imagine they would allow you just to do a straight wall. You'd probably have to tier them. So again, there has been some considerations for how we would manage that. But the biggest part is just ensuring that we're managing the erosion on site as we're doing construction. If we get into walls and other things, we'll make sure that they're constructed and all the design that goes with it is adequate and appropriate.
Agreed and appreciate it. Thank you. Last question I have. This is going to be our first school site that I can think of where we've got an existing construction academy on site. So we talked about it briefly, but can you give me a little bit more about how you'd utilize the construction academy at Eustis High School where appropriate on this project?
Well, I'll just start out by saying there are insurance things that,
Understood.
what we can and can't allow them to do. However, though, because it is right here, it's right at home, Dominic alluded to, providing tours. And we would do that as often as the school wants. It's really not a huge undertaking for us. It doesn't affect our productivity. So allowing them to see the progress from all the way from the site work to foundations, the erection of the walls, really every element they could learn firsthand, probably better than anywhere they could otherwise, of how we put these buildings together. And then we could also have some meetings with them, maybe participate in some of their classes, Ariel or myself, Robert, any one of us, maybe talk about, some of those processes, how it's actually performed. So then when they go out there, they're actually understanding what they're looking at. It's real easy for someone, we were all young once, to walk out and see something, but you have no idea how it's put together. So maybe, that's something that we could add in addition to. I also think that they need to be part of a bigger picture, which is our involvement after this is all said and done and built. We want to be part of this construction academy when we finish. That's usually our intent with anywhere that we work in any of these schools, especially with the construction academy, is to mentor these kids, not only the current, but future generations. So I think that's how we can involve them to get them educated, get them some exposure, and really find out if they want to do construction. It's something that we absolutely need in this industry is to get that interest. And, hopefully we make it exciting enough for them to want to come into our field of work.
If they come on the weekends, I'll let them use the equipment.
There you go.
I was under the understanding that there's insurance, there is
It's provided.
is provided, yeah. And that there are jobs they can do. We're building Habitat for Humanity, we're building houses with our kids.
Right.
So I can't believe that there's not something, and I know that summer jobs, most of the local contractors are hiring our kids for some purpose. So I think there's an opportunity for them to actually pick up a hammer, because I would like that a lot more than walking around a site, just being fair.
Well, and we could,
We'll have one for 'em.
yeah, and we could do that. It may not be on site. When I say insurance, it's not necessarily yours, it's ours. But again, there's limitless options of what we can do with these students, and we've done it at other places, so it's not impossible. We can figure something out to get them, again, some real world experience and have them have them contribute in some way.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I just wanted to mention, we are, do have partnership with ACT Act, which does allow our students at the age of 16 through some, I guess through their insurance that covers some of that. So if you're not familiar with those opportunities, we can certainly get you in touch with the right folks.
Actually, Tom Widener, our VP, is on the board for ACT, so
Okay.
yeah, we definitely have that ability.
Yep.
I use a
Make it happen.
blanket statement for the younger folks.
Good job, guys.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Got it. Thank you, Jim.
All right, folks, thank you very much. Thank you.
Next will be CPPI.
Yes. Give it to us during. They're going to kill him. Might as well write it on.
Kelly,
I think you have time.
you come here
I
just a
was
second.
gonna say, have a minute.
You're the only one I know that has the lintage. Didn't we have an issue with CPPI? With, I thought there was a loss. Who was the, oh, that was agents.
Been a long time with us.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. And we need one there.
One here?
Yes. Thanks.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
as I alluded earlier, 20 minutes. I'll give you about a couple minutes to introduce the team, and then I'll start the clock, and just keep an eye on it until the 1 minute will turn red. Okay, so I don't know why it's not that bright, but it worked.
Does it get brighter later?
No, but you'll see the red.
Gets louder later.
It gets louder at the 1 minute, so.
You scream really loud at 1 minute at me?
He's a glutton for punishment. And again, please speak into the microphone when you talk, so I'll hand you this.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we'll start with introductions. I'm Jason Morgan, Principal in Charge.
I'm Kristen Andreessen, Project Manager, CPPI.
My name's Kevin Bradford. I'm the Director of Pre-Construction for Charles Perry Partners.
Good morning. I'm Dale Wicker. I'm Project Superintendent, CPPI.
Paul Gaynor, GP Construction, local Lake County partner.
Good morning, I'm Chris Kramer, and my role with CPPI is, after the design is complete, to continue the cost control.
He's with us.
Ready? All right.
He's
Ready,
the
set.
sub. No, he's a sub for Sokovich too.
All right, well, just like Principal Clark and his staff, CPPI is driven by legacy to be the best, and we're going to show you over the next 19 and a half minutes how we're going to get the best out of this budget and the best out of this campus. Starts with the legacy. You can see here, over 100 years ago, the original two-story Eustis High School building was built in 1920. So we're going to continue that legacy. We're going to show you a lot of options today how we're going to do that. I'm a Lake County graduate myself, so I obviously have a lot of passion to be here and work for Lake County. We also, when we were practicing, there's a Maggie in our office, third generation Eustis family. All three have graduated from Eustis High School, so just a neat little tidbit.
The history of CPPI, we go back 20 years. So over 20 years ago, we did our first project, Tavares Elementary School. Dale worked on that project, and myself for that matter. So we've done these 6 major projects over the past 20 years. We've been fortunate to present to you a few times here recently, and we're looking forward to bringing that legacy and presenting and doing work for you another 20 years. So in addition to your published criteria, we know there's a lot of opportunity in this campus to, down there where the softball field is, to try to get some parking and additional play field. We're going to meet this criteria today, but also show you some ideas to make that happen. We feel like now is the time to make that happen. Now is the best time to make this project happen. So we looked at your site. First, we mapped all the utilities you see here, knowing the city of Eustis, just to understand our plan. And then we mapped all the egress, ingress, bus loops, routes you see here. That's so we can make sure as we work with Siskovich to put the plan together for construction, we're paying attention to safety for the students, ingress, egress. And I'll note the 3 portables in yellow down there. We know we got to work around those portables during the build, and we're going to show you how we're going to do that in our 3D build here in a moment. So here's your campus as it sits now, historic buildings, historic surrounding neighborhood. We took some drone footage here. You can see the parents queuing up. We really wanted to understand how that works. We know that's a challenge. We know that's going to become a bigger challenge as you add the 9th grade students dropping off, so we're going to talk about that in a moment. And then the bus loop. You can see here it shows how close that bus loop is to where we'll be building the new classroom building. So we're going to show you in our 3D build how we're going to address that as well. And then, of course, we're going to stay tuned with all the ordinances and everything required. Most recently, the House Bill 1473 really tightened down on access to to K-12 campuses, and we're going to use a Bluetooth locking system. So that'll give us, Dale, the superintendent, real-time notification when the gates are closed or open, and we can give that to Principal Clark and his team as well. So again, just another little thing we're going to do to keep the campus safe during construction. We also have a detailed quality control program. This is 3-tier. It really starts during pre-construction, and Dale and Kevin and Kristen will all be involved. And really the idea behind our QC is to be proactive, not to go back and fix it, but to be proactive and fix it before it happens. In this situation, the insulation showed up for the ductwork, and while it was still in the truck, we took the specifications, went out and found out it was the wrong insulation, the wrong R value. So before it was installed, we sent the truck away, got the right insulation, kept the project moving on time. So Kristen Andreasen, your main point of contact, she's currently working on a large K-12 addition right now, a classroom building for Seminole County Schools. So when it comes to working on an active campus, working around students and keeping them safe, and more importantly, communicating with the principal and staff, Kristen's one of the best in the business at doing that. All the things you see here, what she does on that job and what she'll do on this project for you.
Correct. And we really want to focus on what is best for our students, right? And what is best for Mr. Clark's students. So this is just a case study that we provided for Lawton Elementary School, the classroom addition that I'm completing right now. You can see original design and then a revised design. So that's where I worked with Kevin hand in hand in pre-construction with our owners and with our design professionals to review and provide a value analysis to the campus that really prioritize a cost savings plus a time savings to the overall campus. So we took that value analysis and we fit that into our overall construction schedule, originally showing that we had a mid-year turnover in December. Obviously, not a great transition for students mid-year and teachers as well. So during that cost or value analysis, again, giving back $1.2 million to the project itself, but also pulled in that schedule of 5 months. So we allowed everybody to move in at the end of July. So come the first day of school in 2024, those new students were welcoming into their new classroom addition for that new school year.
So we looked at your project. We know we have $35.4 million fixed budget. We know we need a classroom building, the construction lab, the aviation lab. We need to fix some of the queuing and hopefully the bus loop and parent drop off, add the weight room, and maybe upgrade the dining to be ready for the additional students coming.
Here's a picture of your site, again in yellow. A pretty well thought out plan to put the classroom building here. A lot of the infrastructure is already in place, like the chill water stub out, so that'll help when we get into budget. There's a lot of economies there. But we feel like there's an opportunity to, without disrupting and never having to take your practice field off campus, we think we have a plan to do a continuous practice field and build your building, and we're going to show you that here in a moment. We know about 20 years ago, there was a permit actually applied for to build that practice field and parking down there where it's shown in green. So here we are 20 years later. We're confident now is the right time to do that. It's only going to get more expensive and more difficult. So our plan as we go forward in our 3D build and our schedule is to do that now and keep the practice on campus. So here's your site as it sits. You can see in the top center is the 3 portables that are going to be a challenge, but our plan works around that. We're going to make sure that we build our double fence there and have a protection zone there before you get to the portables. And then we're going to put our fence up. And one of the things we looked at was, can this be a tilt wall project? It's a very condensed site, very tight site, but we felt like there was a chance, and we reached out to VMG, one of our top tilt wall contractors, and he actually, this is a sketch, I know it doesn't mean a lot, but he actually drew up how we could make this work and do a 3-story tilt on this property, and we're going to show you how in a 3D build. It starts here. You can see we would do the foundations after the fence is up, again separating the 2 buildings, pour the slab on grade. And then here you see we're taking the bus loop. To make this plan work, we would have to use some of that bus loop closest to you to get the 3-story panels to work. But our schedule has that happening during the summer months. So we're going to take over that piece of the bus loop to pour our casting beds. We're going to tilt those panels during the summer. We're going to get those panels up and put the bus loop back before the kids come back to school. So you can see here the classroom building goes up first. Another advantage to that is that dangerous, loud lifting and all the tilting that's happening right up next to the existing building is going to happen in the summer while there's no students there. So just a great way to get that loud, more risky work done during the summer months. And then we build the second building here. In this model, we're showing a separate building for the construction, administration, and aviation building. So you see that going up next. And then this is when we start the interiors. Again, this is where that QC program that I talked about, where Dale's checking all the finishes going in on the inside. And then the finished product, this might be what it looks like as you wrap up the project and the kids come back after the summer. This might be what they see their first day back to their new classrooms.
Just a beautiful building. So again, as Jason walked through this, here's just an overall general schedule. First 10 months working with your design professionals to get through pre-con, design, targeting an early release package. We know that it's critical for long lead items, and Kevin can communicate more about that in a second. But we moved into the new year in 2026, targeting that early GMP, a 15-month construction schedule. But I really want to note that we have the demo of the softball field and build the new practice field first to prioritize no impact to the current practice field that's on site, as well as moving into the summer so it has a grow period. They come back to school in the fall and they're ready to practice on that new site while we transition into our overall classroom addition building, the new CT building, and then we finish in April of 2027, substantial completion. What does that mean for you guys? It means that you can move in FFE, no rush. You have a clear transition over the summer, and that building is ready come 2027 fall for the Panthers. Again, we also recognize that community is just a really key part of the Eustis pride and the legacy. So our overall goal is 45% local participation. Will meet or exceed those expectations. But what does that mean for our surrounding community? It means $200+ million in work with Lake County partners, but not just in Lake County. I'm currently working with Lake Glass and Mirror on another project in Seminole County Public Schools. So we don't just do work with Lake County in Lake County. We do work with Lake County subs throughout the entire Central Florida area.
All right, so let's get into the
cost side of things. So how we handle estimates at CPPI is we really look at any industry challenges and solutions from an early stage, and we already are currently doing that. So as a part of our market trends minutes, our company does a deep dive on procurement lead times and commodity prices, why we develop our estimates, to make sure that we're providing certainty in all of our estimates, so that when we give you the information, you have the most up-to-date information available to make decisions on the design. So as you can see, as we mentioned, early lead packages, these are the most up-to-date lead times that we're looking at, and these are items that we would target and look at early on during pre-construction to make sure that Kristen and her team has all the tools and material required to build the project. So going through our design, it's really important for us to use our industry standard software like Autodesk Build to do things like constructability reviews, do our in-house takeoff coupled with our historical cost data. That helps me and allows me and my team to not only make sure that we're providing the most up-to-date and accurate estimates, but communicating that information during the design process so that you have all the tools necessary to make the decisions going forward. So case study of the constructability review, the Autodesk Build software has a seamless transition from pre-construction to construction to make sure Kristen and her team have all the information from that pre-construction to make sure that there's no gaps or holes in those contracts. It's a very powerful tool. Now, I know we've talked about that practice field and parking several times, but what I'd like to talk about is how we're going to do that within the budget. So looking at this survey right here of the existing plot, we've been playing with our RockTech software to where that actual foundation and area needs to be. What's the most efficient, cost-effective way to set that up? So what you're looking at here is that RockTech software I just mentioned. It's a color-coordinated representation of the topography of the site. And what it shows is there's a great drop-off on the site. The green is the high side, and the pink is the low side. It's about a 50-foot drop-off there, right? So what this software has allowed me to analyze and do is to find the perfect elevation of where to put that footprint. So these are the calculations from my software. And what I do with these calculations during design is I communicate these with the civil engineer, go to their office, sit down, and we right size that location. And I found that elevation, and it works perfectly with your existing topography on the site. And that's what I've done on multiple different projects with your civil engineer. And I'll do it again for this project to make sure that we're providing great savings and the best efficient way to build that parking and field. So the graphic shown here is just showing you how we would do that, and it would be pulling that top side soil down. But again, that location of that footprint is key, because 1 foot to the left or right can result in $30,000 plus of extra work. So that's savings to the project on where we put that footprint that I'll work through during the pre-construction phase. So this is your finished site where you'll have your field down below and your parking right there. So let's talk about how we handle the GMP, and what I'd really like to focus on is CPPI's process and our continual process of providing continuity to our contractors, provides certainty to our bidders. Now, what does that mean? That means that CPPI has historically seen 5 to 10% better bids from our subcontractors than our competitors. So what does that mean? That means more value to Lake County and more dollars for your program. So here's a case study of a very similar project of a building addition to an existing campus, where we were able to take the original budget that had a lot of the similar challenges as this site and deliver that GMP under the budget. So how do we do that? So it's the process that I just explained and the certainty in our bidding process that guaranteed us to get 180 bids. That's more than 5 bids per bid package. Now, when you have that kind of competition, that's going to drive the cost of the project down, and that's how we're going to get within budget, and that's what I'm going to do on this project as well. So here's a case study several of them, on delivering what we promise. And that's what we do. We deliver on what we promise. We work within our budget and deliver GMPs on time.
So again, your team, your core team that we introduced earlier, Kevin, Kristen, and Dale, you can see on the right, they represent several K-12 projects throughout Central Florida. Dale, being a Lake County resident, has worked on the 6 major projects that CPPI has completed over the last 20 years. So we understand all the stakeholders and what it takes to be successful. I also want to brag on Kristen a little bit. You know, when you're on an occupied campus, it's important that you're communicating daily with the principal and their staff. But more importantly, you know, Kristen does a good job of staying in touch with the community as well. And her job's to report the bad news and the challenges that we have. But this picture on the right is pretty neat on the Lawton Elementary School project that she's wrapping up now. That transformer on that truck, we waited about 12 months for that to arrive on site. So you thought we won the lottery the day that showed up. And that's Kristen texting that out to the team, the principal, the designers. So we're going to share the good news and the bad news and be very engaged with you and your team and the community. And then a little bit about safety. Dale, as I said, most of his career working on active campuses, he understands what it takes to send his guys home inside the fence. But more importantly, a project like this, it's about outside the fence. And I showed you, we've already started building diagrams and 3D models to make sure Dale can adequately manage that traffic and keep the students and staff safe outside the fence. We're very engaged in Lake County. You can see all the things we're doing here. Deeply involved in ACT. Paul Gaynor, our local partner as well. And then here's a great story. About 4 or 5 months ago, Kristen signed up to do a teach-in at the Curtright campus with David Miller. And this is her actually teaching the students, throwing them candy, talking about construction. And we thought, what a great story if Kristen comes back. How great for the students if we were building the new campus just down the street and she could go back, because I think you're already scheduled to go back and talk about a project that she's the project manager on just down the street. So a great opportunity to help those students and share that message. And then a couple quotes from our design partners. We know you selected Zaskovich, CT Shoe. Long history of working with both those firms. You can see there's some nice things they said about us. And then I'll wrap up with being a part of the community. We've participated in a lot of things. This is the Ladies for Education golf tournament. During Q&A, I'll tell you who's who, hearing all these characters, except for who I am. And then to wrap up, you know, why CPPI? Again, 20 years ago, we did Tavares Elementary School. We had a great run. We're excited to be here. We've stayed committed. We've been here before you presenting. We have the right team. We have a plan because we know now is the time to get everything this campus needs. Now is the time. It's never going to be more cost effective than now. We have a plan in place to get the practice field built, get the parking done, never leave the campus, keep the students on campus practicing, go up and build your building. We have the horsepower and the heart to deliver this project, and we would love that opportunity to do that with you and your team and Principal Clark. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason and CPPI. Great presentation. Dr. Luke, any questions?
You didn't mention, I know you guys said you were going to start over the summer and keep the kids on the practice field. Where do you anticipate staging for the construction?
So I'm going to show you, because we had a lot of discussion about that, and our plan is very tight. But during the first phase, while we build the initial fields, I'm never going to get there. So this is a good one to show it. So during the initial phase, when we're down here working on the fields, and the students are up here, and this is our practice field, we're going to peel out this space right here where it's showing our trailer and use that, because during that phase, it's limited trades. It's mostly site guys and Dale. So not a lot of lay down. The structures will come just in time. So during that first phase, we're going to lay down right there. And then when we move up to build the classroom building, we'll take a piece of the parking that we just created down here for our parking and lay down. And our vision would be that during events and games, we would get out of your way and be out of that space for nights and weekend events. So we think we can do it staying on campus, again, not going off site to store material and parking, saving some dollars that we can put into the project.
Well, I know you guys, I know the questions that are coming, so
Mrs. Cunningham?
My only question, you spoke about, it sounds like you've decided that tilt is good.
Correct.
Okay. So are you sure you can stay within budget?
We are, and we know the brick look is important, and that's what we showed in our build. So we'll do the inlay brick on the tilt, but tilt is why we know we can stay in budget. Very efficient construction, both from time and dollars. So with inlay brick on the classroom building, we've put the numbers together, and we can do this. It's very, very tight, but we can do it by making the right decisions. Again, staying on campus and using the tilt wall. It can be done within budget. And Kevin has the numbers if you want to hear ballpark numbers.
Yeah, so we're looking at the building cost around $470 per square foot. That's going to be the $28.2 million. That's for your building. And then we've also allocated $1.8 million for your PE and your cafeteria requirement. That leaves over the $5.48 million where we're going to be able to do either an extension of that bus loop, the parking that we talked about, the practice fields, and then also that north parking area doing some sort of reconfiguration for queuing. But as I mentioned before, the most important thing is that we save as much money as we can out there at those fields, and that's by putting the right footprint down for those fields to give more value back to the rest of the project.
Yeah, it's a massive grading operation, and Kristen talked about the early release package. I mean, we would want to start moving dirt, very early in the process because it drops 50 feet. So we're out there with just constantly moving dirt to get that going early.
Thank you.
Mr. Dodd?
So just to confirm, we weren't originally planning on having the practice field relocated or salvageable through this process. We thought that was going to be too expensive. Is that right?
It was, was that for me?
I'm just, somebody remind me.
We saw in some of the literature that
It was more of a want than a...
Yeah, it was kind of a want.
And you were able to get that.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion about maybe taking that to the Kurt Wright campus.
Right.
But as we peeled this onion, we felt like it's only going to get busier and prices are only going to get higher. Let's find a way to get it done now. That campus is only going to grow and prices are only going to go up, and we have a good plan.
Sure. I think, one of my questions from the other presentation has been about the integration, seamlessness, and how you work with the architect to make this, not appear either institutional or like, out of left field. I guess the brick, you're able to do the brick within the budget because you're using the thin.
Yeah, the thin brick is challenging from a quality control standpoint, but when it's done right, very efficient. And maybe it's full height brick, maybe it's 2/3 height brick. We're going to work with the architect. This is our version we put together, so it might not look just like this. We'll work with Siskovich like we always do and find out the right mix of brick and paint. But yeah, that should be easily done within the budget. Again, going with the tilt wall, and then we can dress it up to make it look sexy like that. We didn't do the brick on the smaller building, but again, we might do a wainscot or something there.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mr. Mathias?
Yeah. First of all, your local partner, we didn't speak much about you. Can you just 1 minute?
Yes, sir.
Because I got some other questions.
Our secret weapon.
Yeah.
So I was pretty much raised in Lake County, graduated, was the first graduating class of East Ridge. I've been in construction since out of high school. Worked my way up in a firm to a project manager. Decided to leave and started my own business. Had it 10 years. I'm a commercial contractor in Lake County, and I have tons and tons of relationships here with all my subcontractors. And it's more about relationships than anything for me. That's how I built my business. So I try and keep it close to home because it's my home. Yeah, and I do have a handful of guys we self-perform, painting, framing, door install, bathroom accessories. So we do a little bit of everything. When it comes to punch out, my guys are the best.
Good.
And this has been a relationship we've had for 5 years now. We're going to be doing the supervisor of elections project together. So combining our 20 years of subcontractor relationships with his 10 years there in Groveland, it's a pretty powerful punch to bring our two sub bases together. When Kevin talks about getting 180 bids, it's those relationships
Right.
Paul's talking about.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I also want to make a comment now. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it looks like y'all done an awful lot of design work that you can do within the budget. So how does that work with Sokovich? Are you going to present this to them as ideas? And I saw you have your cross control, who was Sokovich pitch, Chris, which was very positive. So you'll be involved in this between the design and construction?
So my role with Ziskovich is throughout the design phase. Once the design phase is complete, my role with CPPI is to continue cost control through the bidding, GMP, and the construction phase at no additional cost to Lake County schools.
Okay, so I think that's where the wheel runs off for me. It seems like to me that you would be engaged in determining where it works before we ever get it designed.
Yes, with
That-
Ziskovich, yes.
Okay, so when the handoff is there, you already know where those savings are.
Yes, it's continuous and it's the continuity throughout design and construction.
I mean, that's where the value's been. We've done this with Chris now, I think about 10 years, but he'll stay with it all the way through. We're working side by side as well. And you asked, would we share this with them? Yes, we will, but architects are sensitive, so we'll listen as well. And really, we build these 3D models to kind of help think about the constructability, and will tilt wall work, and can we get the portables out behind the back? So that's the kind of input we'll be given, as well as cost data to Ziskovich, and I'm sure they're going to have some design ideas that we'll work towards with them. So it'll be an integral effort with us and Ziskovich that we've done with them several times.
Thank you. That's it.
Perfect. Of your 6 substantial projects with Lake, when was your last one? Probably 10 plus years ago, correct?
Dale, when was the last one you did?
And that was what, 2012, 2014-ish, I think?
No,
Yes, sir, I think
before
so.
2012.
Was it before 2012?
Yeah, 'cause I came
That's
on
right.
board in 12.
Okay, so that was
Mid-2012.
15, yeah.
09 when we finished that.
Okay. And then the rest of them were the early 2000s?
Right.
Gotcha. So it's been a minute.
Yeah, so we did the school the first phase, and then the second phase was the athletic fields.
Yes, sir.
Football fields and all that.
Did you do the football fields?
Yes. Was there a problem with them?
Yes. Yes, there was.
What?
We had to redo football fields.
No, you didn't.
Yes, we did.
Really?
100%. It sank.
It sank.
The field sank.
Wow. Never knew that. When was that?
We replaced it. Were you superintendent?
I don't recall.
9 years ago then, 10 years ago?
Any knowledge on that one?
No. I was on the board, so yeah, I know. We spent 65 grand building the building. Where's when you need? Phone a friend.
Well, I doubt it was due to Dale's construction, but yeah, that's,
No, I'm not.
yeah.
All good. And the only other question I have, I see Jeff sitting in the second row. Jeff, what's your role going to be on this project? For the rest of the board, Jeff was with the Wellboro team when we awarded the Villages Elementary, one of their stars that's now working for CPPI. So, Jeff, how will you support this project?
I'm currently right now working with Kristen on the Lawton job we just talked about, the project director.
Perfect.
For CPPI K-12. I've worked K-12 for 20 plus years. Is my passion, and my passion and their passion kind of come to a blending line there, and that's why I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you. Good to see you.
You too.
Any other questions, board? Perfect. Thank you, guys. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. 5-minute break, guys.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. See you later. David, good to see you. Jeff?
It's always going to be with softball.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll let you know when.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One right there.
Good morning.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Are y'all doing?
In 2014, by the way, is when we had to redo the field at Mineola.
When 2014?
Yeah, you can Google it.
Anything. I remember that.
Ready. Good morning. So you're going to have 20 minutes to present. I'll start the clock when we're ready, and then it will turn red at the minute mark, so keep an eye on the clock, okay? I'll give you a couple minutes to introduce the team. When you speak into the microphone all the time, and then once you're done, we'll start the clock.
Good morning. My name is Steve Melko. I'm the operations manager leading this project. And we appreciate the opportunity to be here to earn your business. I'm going to introduce the project team. Here you have Seth Spires, who'll be your superintendent. He's currently at the Villages Elementary School. Brian Walker will be your project manager, Eustis High School grad. And then we have Austin, who will be the pre-construction manager. All Lake County residents, but all experienced in construction, work, and occupied campuses. I'll introduce the rest of the team shortly. Perfect.
Ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
We're proud to be a 100% employee-owned company in business in Central Florida since 1979. And we've been working with Lake County Schools for over 20 years, and we value that relationship. The rest of the project team you see, starting with Michelle Whitehead. She's our project manager assistant. She's also on the Villages Elementary School project with your team. Debbie Rodriguez, the CEO of CEP Partners, also part of the Villages Elementary School team. Jean Camille, superintendent, will be supporting Seth on site. And Aaron Dudnath is our field engineer. Aaron's also a product of the Lake County ACT intern program, and he's also on the Villages Elementary School project with us. Supporting personnel, Kevin Boland is our safety manager. He'll be on site one time a week to make sure that, supporting Seth to make sure that the project is being run safely, especially knowing that we're going to be on your occupied campus. And then Bob Armstrong is our risk manager. He oversees our site managers, our quality control, and our warranty. As I mentioned, Debbie Rodriguez, CEO of Competitive Edge Partners. They are our mentor-protege partner. And as you can see, they're very successful in the construction business, but also very active in the community. Debbie also leads iBuild, which is a program that's geared towards getting students into the business of construction. That program would be a great partnership opportunity with Eustis High School students in their summer camp. We've heard the criteria that you guys would like to be presented and understand it, and I'll turn it over to the project team. Brian, go ahead.
So let's talk a little bit about the knowledge of site and proposed scope of work. So knowledge of site, so the campus has changed a little bit from when I went to school here, but you know, the new building is going to be there on the upper field, the upper practice field, from what it was called when I was there. On that upper field, you've got the chilled water plant. We know that there's some existing utilities with the utility or power lines and some sanitary lines that run along Fondstock. They're parallel with Fondstock. The elevation change between the upper field and down there where the old softball field is, coming along Fondstock there, that's a pretty tight road, can get congested at times. Know that there's some parking issues that go along through there, especially during game time, you know, people parking in the grass. Moving your way north toward Washington, people parking, you know, along the street there up against the building. Turning onto Washington Ave, you got the parent drop-off there at the front of the school, and Washington can get congested at times during the pickup and drop-off times. Across Across the street, you have the student parking lot and staff parking lots. You got a dry retention pond sitting in the middle of those parking lots. And then you got the historic district there on the west side of that parking lot. So now let's talk a little bit about what the scope of work is. So it's your new building there on the practice field, 600 student stations, construction lab, an aviation lab, weight room, administrative office spaces there. Down below at the old softball field, that would be a new practice field, extending the bus drop-off there along Fondstock, adding some parking areas along that area, and then doing something over at at your existing parking lot, the student parking lot and faculty area, just to gain some spaces. Know that your parking areas are pretty good right now for what you have on campus, for the staffing and students on campus, but know during football season, when there's football games, that gets pretty congested and pretty crowded. So we spoke to Ziskovich. We've worked with them on other projects, and just talking with them and hearing some of the comments that you guys have on things that we could do. So going back over to where the building would be located, instead of maybe putting the weight room inside the building, moving that weight room over there on the other side of the band room up next to the gymnasium, that lower softball field, maybe turning that into a parking lot for your ninth grade staff. I mean, ninth graders are not going to be driving I know, but you would be adding a lot of staffing there. And then that lower area, as far as for a practice field, it would be that wooded area down there next to the football field where the current football field is now. Moving over to the parking area, maybe putting an exfiltration system over there where that dry retention pond is, just to gain some more spaces there. And then maybe adding a back entrance to that parking lot just to relieve some of the congestion onto Washington. So these are a few examples of similar projects that we've done in the past. The first one is the classroom and lab addition that we did for you guys at Lake Minneola High School, 2-story classroom, like I said, and lab building. The middle one is a project I worked on with Ziskovich down in St. Cloud, a 3-story tilt panel classroom building. And then last is Lyman High School, the Career Innovation Center.
Make sure that we're communicating effectively with your building group and as well as the architect, and making sure that we give you as Lake County Schools the most opportunity and the most scope for what you have currently in your budget. We want to deliver all of those options that Brian talked to you about earlier, the weight room, the practice field, a little bit of additional parking. We want to do all that for you and having us as an early contributor and collaborator on the project will prove very effective and useful for that. One thing that I do as a pre-construction manager is cost control. This is an example of a VE log that we submitted for Lake Minneola High School, where we proposed about $150,000 worth of savings to the school district. And these weren't just finishes changes, but they were a lot of things that related to infrastructure, like the chillers and the kind of structure that we had. And we try to focus on those instead of taking away from things that are going to benefit the students in their everyday atmosphere and in the classrooms.
So one of the things that we do is our pre-planning before we ever put shovels in the ground. And so we'll get our project team together, we'll go over coordination, site logistics, go over our budget, and we'll package all that information together and we present it to our executive team. It's just another set of eyes to put on this project in order to answer some questions, or they can ask questions of things that we may run into prior to ever starting the project, so that we make this project as more successful than originally planned. And then we have Bob Armstrong that Steve had mentioned before. He's our risk manager. He does our warranty calls. It's just a great benefit to us as far as the calls that he has. He can, kind of tell us about what's going on and anything that we can do to prevent that during the course of construction, that it'll save money in the long run and save time.
All right, so let's speak about the scheduling. And that is something that I take on to myself. I run the P6. Me and Brian will work week to week together. putting that together and keeping it up to date so it tells a story. That way you guys want to come and ask where we're at, what progress have we made, and what are we looking at down the road, we can tell you guys. But the big thing is to this is to take the time with the subs, sit them down, have them bite off on the schedule so they can produce the proper manpower when we're going to need it, so we can keep the project flowing along as we need. So also something to be incorporated in there is you're going to hear me speak about early release package. And what I did at 47 was one of the last schools in the other district that I did. But what we were able to do was to get the electrical and the HVAC stuff ordered early, and then I could tell when it needed to fit into the schedule. That way we could keep production as we move through the project to keep it on time and very efficient. So now let's just take a quick look at the overall schedule, just big points and why this look ahead and the order in the early release package is so important. So in February, March, we'd get all the site ready, get the building pad ready to get under construction. Then we would go into the structure itself all the way up through September. September comes, then we start putting the roof on, get everything dried in, and that's really significant because that would allow me to turn on power. Power allows me to turn on AC. AC allows me to go into all the finishes, all the pretty stuff that everybody wants to see. Okay, and then we'll go around to the outside, start putting in all the landscape, making everything look really good, start working with the FF&E people so we can get to that point, and then also really focusing on that last month, getting all the final inspections. That way we can turn this project over to you guys on a time. But now, how am I going to do that? Here's the site. And you're going to see right along here, I've got 3 different gates. You're going to say, wow, Seth, you got that much going on? No, I don't have as many drivers as I do there at elementary school, but here at the high school we'll have a lot more. So the goal is to coordinate the deliveries, to be able to bring them in this gate, put them in almost like a loop, so that way we're not getting the phone calls that I'm holding up traffic, I'm holding up a bus, or anything like that. And then the other gate is to bring all the workers into laydown area, so it looks very controlled chaos, would be the best way to put that. And that would allow us to stay away, keep our clean separation, and work on that occupied campus.
Now, we aren't going to be able to do this without the participation from local contractors. We not only have a 35% local participation goal, but we have a strong plan to help achieve that. At Lake Minneola High School, we had a 39% local participation. And so we plan to do this by hosting subcontractor nights, having early involvement from the community, and bringing on a lot of excitement about the project to help encourage local contractors to continue to bid and develop those relationships. We have a lot of relationships already in Lake County from our previous experience in all of the different projects we have, and specifically Lake Minneola High School with that 39% local participation. But so not only are we going to lean on all of the relationships that we currently have and continue to expound those, but also I have Building Connect, which allows me to filter by different locations and specifically invite subcontractors that are qualified to be doing the work. Now we'd like to talk a little about how we're going to control the cost during construction and mitigate any escalation costs from materials now too. Cost control starts in pre-construction, but that's not where it ends. In pre-construction, after we receive bids from contractors and subcontractors, we're going to have everyone come in and we'll discuss everything about the project. We're going to make sure that they have that they have the labor and manpower available to do the project. We're going to talk to them about schedule. We're going to talk to them about the material that they have and make sure that nothing is out longer and going to be further delaying the project. And like Seth mentioned, we know that there are several things, specifically electrical gear, HVAC equipment, and elevators that take a very long time to procure. And so our plan to tackle that and avoid any further escalation. Now, things have settled down a little bit over the last couple of years since COVID, but we want to mitigate anything that could potentially happen by doing those early release packages and making sure that we get everything done early. These are 2 examples of different types of construction that we did. We did an addition at Lake Brantley High School, and like Brian mentioned earlier, an addition over at St. Cloud High School. Lake Brantley was block and brick construction, and St. Cloud was a tilt wall panel construction. St. Cloud being 3 stories kind of lended itself to being tilt panel, and the 2-story addition at Lake Brantley was more cost effective to do that as block and brick. And part of my efforts in pre-construction are going to be doing these continuous studies and giving you as the school board feedback to make sure that we are being good stewards of the tax dollars that are going to this project. We can do these studies to determine what's going to be the most cost-effective and fastest on the schedule so that we aren't delayed throughout the rest of the period. Now, Brian's going to talk about during construction.
Yeah, controlling cost during construction, you know, it's going to be really important to get those agreements executed in the first 30 days. We want to hold our subcontractors accountable to make sure that they have the proper manpower on site when is needed, updating that schedule weekly, having our weekly meetings, our staff meetings, our owner and architect meetings on a regular basis, RFIs, just proposing solutions and taking into account what the cost impacts are on those solutions, and then continuous forecasting, both financially and through our staffing. Here's just a few examples of where we've given money back to you, the owner. This is through the tax savings on owner direct purchase. This is our under budget estimate. So you're on that part of it, you would see that money savings at the beginning of the project. And then lastly is just the overall general savings throughout the course of the project that you'll see at the end. And then next, we'll talk a little bit about project coordination and safety. So this is just some of the software that we use. BIM 360 is our project manager software that we'll use to communicate with the field and with our architects and engineers.
So now you're going to hear everybody come in here today and talk about good neighbor. Well, I'm going to tell you how I actually do the good neighbor. Communicate with the community. I meet with the principal week to week, talk about what's taking place, find out what testing is going on, because we're talking about we take care of the kids. So we find out what time testing that week or the days, what that looks like, and we accommodate, try to cut down on the noises that we're doing for construction activities. Once again, controlling that flow of traffic on the outside, making sure we know what the drop-off pickup times are. Is there a pep rally? Is there a parent event that's coming that day that we need to get out of the way for? That's how we become the good neighbor. Now, the other thing is the safety program that we put together. But as we talked about, we have Kevin coming out there, but it's also my team's job is every day is keep everybody safe so they can return back the following day. That is the key to the safety. But let's also take a look at the JLL badging. It's not just a badge that you go and get. It doesn't mean that. Yes, you got to get it, but it's also taking the opportunity to make sure everybody has that and understands why that we're going to be crossing over, we're going to where kids, students, and staff are at, and taking that to heart and understanding that just because we're over there, we've got a badge, we need to act and be correct in front of the staff and students.
Well, bro, it feels like it's important to give back, and we do. A couple of examples we'll see here is we helped to rebuild the pavilion at Leesburg High School. Aaron was a part of that project, our field engineer. Seth's very active with Lake County ACT program. And as I mentioned, Aaron, our field engineer, is a product of that. Down in the bottom left, you can see where Seth, Brian, and Bob Armstrong were volunteering at Camp Boggy Creek, Day of Service here in Lake County. And CEP and iBuild also have a lot of positions of advisory boards with Lake County. It's important to give back. In closing, I would like to ask you to put your trust into Wellbro. We would be honored to do this project with you. And now I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Wellbro team. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Dr. Luke?
They answered my question about staging, so I'll hold mine and listen to y'all's.
Okay. Mrs. Cunningham?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Mr. Dodd?
So, Lake Mineola, y'all were involved in the addition or the original? It was the addition.
Yep.
You know, one of the things that I hear from people is that they don't even realize that we did an addition because it looks so seamless. So I'm thinking about this particular project and how do you work with the architect, knowing we've already identified that group, to ensure a seamless sort of experience here on this campus?
Can I speak to that? At the Villages Elementary School in Lady Lake, we did a fairly similar thing. And what we did is we found we have a lot of contacts in the area. Steve Bishke, for example, is at Old Castle Masonry, and he was actually the one who supplied the brick for the other buildings. And so leaning on our relationships in the community and making sure that we have samples that are being provided for approval by the school board and by the school themselves is something that's going to happen early on in pre-construction to make sure that we not only are going to aid in the design and in the cost, but lean on our relationships in the community to make sure that we're providing the same materials, if not something that is locally and readily available for that.
So are you envisioning, I guess, the tilt wall certainly would be an option. You would coat that in some sort of thin brick or something along those lines?
Thin brick is certainly an option to match the masonry of the area. Or if it's a two-story block and brick, may lend itself to be a little bit more effective.
Okay.
But yeah, working with the architect to provide what's not only going to be the most cost-effective, but also save on schedule as well.
Okay. And just one thing that I guess I've been becoming more and more aware of is just the challenges of the grading over there in the practice field. And so at the end of this, we've got a practice field, we've got additional parking in that realm, and that's all doable.
Yeah, I can speak right now. In elementary school, where we're at, I have over a 15-foot elevation difference. So just a simple import of fill has been entertainment because I'm restricted on my one access point into the school. But we've been able to maintain that, and we're bringing this, I imagine, close to 100,000 yards of dirt being brought in. Also, that is also my construction entrance and also everywhere I get all my deliveries into for the school. So the elevation is a challenge, yes, sir, but you just got to prepare for it. And there may be some Saturday deliveries also hold themselves for deliveries like that way to get materials on site.
All right, final question is because your system involved a unique number of gates that I don't know that I've seen so far in the presentations. So certainly that increases the odds of a gate getting left open when it's not supposed to be. What sort of security systems do you have in place to ensure that we don't have any issues with that?
So the same thing is make it real clear to the subcontractors what the work hours are to be on site. I have no problem sending people away. They want to show up at 7:30 and our start time is 7, they can try the next day to come back. Because it is important because of the drop-off times for the high school would be, and they're also release times that we do not want to interfere in those times. I've taken the schedules and worked them where we go to 10-hour shifts, and that way we're in before the student staff gets there, and then we leave after the student and staff leave there. Now, extracurricular after-school activities, I would just have to learn, talking with the principal and the assistants there, what would take place for that.
But then just having Wellbro staff on site as when the last subs are leaving, that we're making sure that the gates are all locked and secure.
All right, very good.
Mr. Mathias?
Y'all did a great job on Mineola High School. It really was seamless. It looked outstanding. When you mentioned local participation, but you don't have a local partnership with a local contractor here, right?
We have a local partnership with Competitive Edge Partners.
What do they do?
They are not only a construction firm, but they also have a large staffing arm as well. So they're not a general contractor, but they're a subcontractor partner with us. And so their role in this would specifically be at the Villages is the safety side of things. So they're running and leading the safety side. And to expand our partnership with them, they would handle a lot of the site logistics, like the fencing and making sure the gates get closed and doing all of that. And they would have a contract to handle all of that as part of this project.
Thank you very much.
And then also I'll speak to the CEP. In past experience with them also, I've had them do QA/QC for me, behind like electrical, just making sure everything was functional and working. They've also have a drywall and painting division that we've brought them in and utilized them just as a subcontractor underneath us, and they've done a great, outstanding job. And they've also been able to say we've got that one weird trade. We had an epoxy floor, one bathroom. We went to them and they were able to produce the person, did a wonderful job, and come in and out.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a comment to the Wellboro team and the CEP team on the very unique fencing at the Villages Elementary. I think Wellboro took the most creative and probably the more difficult approach for them, but the least disruptive to the campus. And from what I've seen so far, I've executed that flawlessly. So thank you guys for taking that extra time to really take the long way in and out of that site. But it seems like it's really paid off, and I know Principal Dudley's very pleased with the project so far. Was out there a couple weeks ago from the top of the playground where he likes to hang out and look at the top of the project, and it's coming along well. My only question is really more around between your team and Debbie's team. You mentioned it briefly, but how best can we utilize the Construction Academy at Eustis High School on this project in some more creative ways where insurance allows to really let them be a part of this project? I think it's the first one that we've done of a substantial addition at a school with an existing construction academy, and would really just like to lean in on that and how we can keep them engaged in the process.
So I can't speak right on the campus. Sure. But we did take a young man from the Leesburg High School, where I spend a lot of time and dedicate some hours there on a monthly basis. And we hired him for over the summer, but through Debbie being so involved in the iBuild, they have that avenue to get them insured, but them being under 18 to be active on a construction site and seeing what's taking place.
Also, summer school opportunity could be made available.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Excellent presentation. Thank you, guys.
I appreciate your time.
Can I ask Mr. Clark a question real quick?
Sure.
While we're transitioning. What is that electrical piece, like in the old softball field down the bottom? What's the electrical piece that's behind where the concession stand was? It's like fenced in and there's like a big tower-looking electrical thing.
Yeah, and I know when you walk, you remember Dave was trying to figure that out.
That is actually a city, a piece of city equipment. It's either city well or lift station.
Yeah, I thought they were saying lift station. But
Yeah.
either way,
I know there's a lift station over there, but I don't know if that's the same piece that you're talking about. But I know they do have, like, when you get down to the bottom of that
Yeah,
road there
on the left-hand side.
They have a lift station right
Okay.
there.
Thank you. I was just picturing it in my head.
The topography, just so I have a really clear picture, is the football
Thank you,
field at
guys.
the
Thank you.
same level as the trees, the tree line?
No.
No, it's down.
It's down.
And then it even keeps going. So once you get, you're like the school. Yeah, you're like the school is here, and then the softball field is here, and the football field is here, and then this one goes even
Lot of
further
dirt.
down.
A lot.
It just
So-
keeps going down.
So does it make sense to just get to the football field?
That's what they were saying they would do. Is
That's
just
what they are
level
saying they're doing.
this softball field to the football field to make that practice
To
field.
there?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good
But
point.
now going beyond.
Yeah.
Drops off down to 90.
That's what they were saying. There's a
Right.
retaining wall right there that would hold that.
Got it.
Ready.
Thing down there.
What?
That was helpful because I'm envisioning them trying to raise up that
Yeah.
No.
90-foot.
Whenever the girls would hit
Good
foul
morning.
balls back there, they would send the girls, like the kids, the little kids back there, like, go get the balls. And Jason's like, Mom, it's like we could slide down.
Are we having a fun morning?
Yes.
So much fun.
About to get fun.
There we go. I like to hear it.
Good morning. Thank you for guys for waiting. So
Construction.
I'll give you a couple minutes to introduce the team. Then we'll start the clock, and then it will turn red at the 1 minute mark. So keep an eye on it over there. Okay. This works? Yes. So if it doesn't work, it's operator error. Yeah. Let me know so I can start the clock.
All right, well, good morning. I'll start with the introductions. My name is Rick Dunn. I am the regional manager over our education group here at the Williams Company.
And I'm Brandon Rustin. I am a senior superintendent with Williams Company and the lead superintendent for your project. About 30 years of experience, and the last 10 years, about 65% of that building schools right here in Central Florida. Oh, I missed one.
Good morning. My name's Andrew Kennerly. I'll be your senior project manager. Like Brandon, I also have over 20 years' experience in the K-12 education construction market.
Good morning, Justin Bray. I'm the numbers guy, pre-construction for Williams Company. Excited to be today about the school.
And good morning again, everyone. My name is Chris Kramer, and after the design is complete, I'll be working hand in hand with Justin on the bidding, GMP, and construction phase for cost control.
We've been working with Chris for the last 10 years as part of our team.
Ready? Whoever is going to speak to the microphone. Thank you.
All right, well, good morning. We're going to jump right in. Some parallels about our company and Eustis High School. We've both been around approximately 100 years. It's a photo of J.J. Williams, the founder of our company. And just a brief history, over that last 100 years, we've grown to the smiling faces you see on that screen, 100% employee owned. As these guys mentioned, we have a deep resume in education projects, but I want to talk a little bit about a similar project. Boone High School, we were there for 3 years. We built 2 new buildings on that campus, and we understand all the importance of working on a campus like Eustis High School. We're also very excited doing our first project over at Mount Dora High School with the district. We're going to be doing that concession stand and bleacher repair with you guys. So excited to kick off our new relationship here with the school district. And as we begin, I'd like to say, Williams Company, why are we the #1 choice? We're going to make sure we keep the Friday night lights shining bright on campus. We understand we're parents. We've got student athletes. It's a big part of a high school campus, and making sure that those operations continue. We're going to ensure the safety and the supervision throughout is maintained and enhanced. We'll talk about that through our presentation, and we're going to maximize all the R&D opportunities, and we'll cover that topic in our presentation as well. So a little bit about our team, the overall structure. Again, I'm the project executive overseeing it, working for a very long time in the industry, 30 years myself, alongside partners just like Siskovich. Worked with Renee many times, Jay Klima Weeks, your civil engineer. So we've got a great long rapport in the industry with those folks. And then the rest of our team you'll hear from throughout today's presentation. Andrew?
Thanks, Rick. Good morning again, everyone. Andrew Kennelly. I'll be the senior PM, excited about this project. Really looking forward to getting into the details here regarding the site and the local conditions. First, we want to mention our experience again with the K-12 building departments. We understand the state requirements for educational facilities. Working hand in hand with them, we take a proactive approach to make sure that we bring them in from the start and we have all the safety concerns into the construction documents with the design team. Now, the RFQ asked us to talk about the scope. I'm sure you've gone through this quite a bit already. We've taken a deep dive. We understand all the elements. We really want to maximize every dollar on this project and get the best return on investment. We also recognize the challenges noted in the RFQ, talking about the small space for the site, the occupied campus in a developed neighborhood, with making sure we have protection for the portables and then a way out. With our experience, we know how to do that. We're going to talk about some of those solutions here. So the project coordination and safety, Williams Company takes safety as our #1 priority. Again, as Rick mentioned, we've all have children in schools, and we developed this site-specific safety plan for every single campus we're on. We communicate that to our subcontractors and then to your staff. In fact, we help build that with your team. We do the monthly, we have all the monthly updates, and we've got our safety center. And of course, we're making sure that Jessica Lunsford Act is another key element to our overall safety approach. Keeping in mind safety, we looked at how we could get to the project safely and make sure there's no interruptions. This is one of the safest routes that we've looked at. Of course, we would make sure there aren't any other concerns with your team, but the key here is you're not going to hear any complaints or disruptions from the job site. The neighbors aren't going to be calling. Deliveries are going to go to our site where they need to be. Brandon?
Hey, again, Brandon Rustin, the superintendent for the project. I want to take just a quick second to tell you how excited I am about this project. I really, really, really am. It has some super things going for it. One is an engaged faculty. Thank you for sharing your campus with us in December. I look forward to doing that, making that a more of a daily thing real soon. And also your choice for designer. I know these guys well, and they use an example of a similar project, and I know how well they did because I was the superintendent on that project. So, and then last, as we approach that 30 years of experience mark, we do look for something to make us more engaged, and this project has the challenges that I know will keep it a very engaging effort. One thing I did want to say about being a good neighbor, we are occupied campus experts. We know what we're doing, and that is certainly going to come through. Talking about the impact, we have a goal of 0 impact to school operations. When you visit our site office, you'll see your bell schedule posted. You'll see your testing schedule. We have daily huddles with the entire staff on site. Every person on that job site will know the testing schedule. They'll know what to do when they encounter a gate. They know what they need to do when they need to traverse campus to a remote work area.
So let's dive deeper into the project. First of all, we want to note some of the important existing conditions. We're aware of the student and staff parking lots. We've those sites. We've driven around the campus. We've explored the parent loop, the bus loop. Taking that into account is going to be key for our approach. And then the other thing we really took a deep dive into was the existing utilities. So during pre-construction, we'll work hand in hand with the design team to identify where the chilled water lines are, keeping the existing central energy plant running, making sure there's no interruptions to the building operations is key for us. Another big element we looked at is the environmental concerns around the site. So we identify the wetlands and a plan to buffer the existing wetland. It is partially on the Eustis High property, but the key here is there is that buildable space of the wooded area to the west of the softball field. We're going to talk about some opportunities there. Now, Brandon's going to cover some site logistics.
A lot of items on this one exhibit for a project that's not designed yet. Understand we are dealing with a schematic design. We do know that there are some elements that are going to be not in that primary site, but we do identify the new classroom building site in the existing practice field. You can see we have 2 entrances planned. We have identified the softball field as a laydown and contractor parking area. What we would do is we would have stage deliveries, exactly on time deliveries, so that those can come into that upper site but not interfere with the existing bus loop at the time. Most of our traffic would be in that lower entrance.
And we'll, of course, incorporate the lessons learned that I mentioned from Boone High School, the fencing, how we separate ourselves from the students to maintain safety, but also on those Friday night events where we will plan and organize our fencing so that if we need to open up access to get to the football field and work to maybe utilize additional parking areas on those events, that's something that we have success in doing, and we'll plan for this.
And then a quick animation, if you will, of that primary building. You'll see that we're going to jump in early. This is by design. We have underground site work foundations now in April. Right as the school year ends, you get your slab on grade. We do anticipate this to be a tilt-up building, but regardless of what the building structure is, it would have the vertical elements going over that first summer. That helps with a lot of things, namely safety due to the lesser activity on campus. Steel erection, moving very rapidly to dry in so that we can spend most of the time on the inside completing that building. We see no issue with the May 2027 completion date.
So just an overview of quality control. We're going to make sure that's paramount from the beginning in pre-construction, all through the submittal process. Brandon and myself on site, we walk the job regularly. We'll make sure that the materials coming in are what they're supposed to be. We have found that proactiveness really makes sure that there's no surprises or delays. Another element of our plan is the Warranty Plus program. So this is a plan that, again, it's proactive. We want to make sure that the building is functioning the way it should. So instead of just coming back towards the end of the warranty period, we schedule quarterly walkthroughs, provide a report, make sure things are working the way they should, and this is at no cost to the district.
And one quick example of where this has benefited our clients, we went on a quarterly walkthrough back at Boone High School, and one of the small items that we found was a washing machine that was hooked up after we left, and that machine had a leaking hose. We caught that issue, repaired a little bit of drywall, and got it fixed for the school within that first quarterly walkthrough, and it really kept it from becoming a snowballing to a larger issue.
So a big component for this project, we see opportunities, is to use our technology, the building information modeling, building everything in virtual reality. We could talk more about that, but more importantly, we think this is a great opportunity for learning right here on the campus with the students, the CTE program. We've got plans to bring them into this so they could see what goes into all of this. The 3D scanning, the 360 photos, that's an added benefit for long-term warranty and maintenance as well.
Yeah, and I think it would be exciting to have that group of students on campus involved with the project, that virtual reality, having them go in and see things like the sight lines and stairwells and safety that are going to be built into their project all throughout the process. That's something that we've done with other programs, other school districts. We've hired interns for the summer from their programs, and we did enjoy the opportunity to do that here.
Again, we see this as an opportunity to bring all the different participants together. The RFQ asked about this. We want to have fun. We want to make it a really positive experience for everyone involved. We've talked about our relationship with the design team and look forward to bringing all the stakeholders in to this process. Another tool we use for scheduling, again, this is how we could keep everybody informed. Like Brandon said, we'll get your bell schedule, the events calendar. We'll plug all of that into our master schedule and be able to provide real-time updates. Here's the milestone schedule from the RFQ. We verified the dates are appropriate, the durations are appropriate. We see an opportunity, though, for the early procurement towards the end of design. That's going to help us with a couple things, including that wooded area, and we'd like to talk more about that in cost control. But another resolution for potential delays is that proactive approach. We know what the long lead times are in the business right now. We'll get that early procurement GMP together so that everything is hitting the site when it's supposed to. It minimizes the amount of storage we need and really helps things move smoothly. Again, another key component for us is utilizing the local workforce, our existing relationships with many of these subcontractors you see on the screen. We've worked in and around Lake County. We'll do a specific outreach program for this project and make sure that we've utilized our partner, Greg Brower, local resident. He'll be a great resource as well.
Yeah, and Greg's a veteran business owner. He deals in quality control throughout construction. We currently are using him on one of our schools in Osceola County, and he's an asset to the team.
Just wanted to highlight real quickly some of the overall impact. It's not just about the subs and some vendors, it's about the local businesses. So we'll make sure to highlight that and keep those local dollars right by the Eustis High School campus. Here's an example from our previous projects highlighting a consistent 70% or more local participation. And Rick touched on this, but we'd really like to bring in the opportunity for CTE, and not just the construction CTE. There's all different components inside of construction. So we see some really great opportunities here with the ACE mentorship program that we're part of, as well as the Academy for Construction Technology.
Thank you, Andrew. Again, Justin Bray. I'm going to oversee the pre-construction portion of this project. So as Rick mentioned earlier, we have extensive knowledge and cost history, over 50 years of building schools, and we're going to make sure we take all of that knowledge and all that experience, and we're going to put it into a defined set of bid instructions for the subcontractors to really help increase the clarity and really help reduce cost. I mean, constantly looking at market trends as well as what Andrew mentioned before, making sure we understand the lead times on all the key components, getting all those ordered early so that the schedule runs through smooth. And then document review and project analysis. This is a really important time for pre-construction here at Williams to partner up shoulder to shoulder with Ziskovich and make sure that the design is moving in line with the budget from the very beginning, so the design doesn't outpace it, to make sure we're staying on budget the whole time. It's really important to us. And then lastly, understanding the importance of the design guidelines for the district, making sure you guys get what you want. We have our finger on the pulse of the market. We've actually been tracking cost all the way back to 2009. You see the kind of the sharp run up on the graph here from COVID, but the good news is in the red circle, I'd like you to look at that, it's really leveled out over the last 12 months. We're not seeing the same escalations that we've seen in the past. It's more moving with the normal market, so that's good news moving forward. Again, looking at the material and availability trends, this is something I look at weekly. We're constantly talking to vendors and equipment suppliers, making sure we know exactly how long it's going to take so that we can order those in that early GMP so that everything shows up on time to build the building. We also really look heavily at cost reduction options and value engineering. The table on the right is another project that we worked on, another school. We recommended almost $1 million of savings there, and wanted to direct your attention to 5 specific ones that we're looking at for this particular project. Really looking at the cut fill analysis, especially around the softball field in that area with the undulations. Utilizing some existing utilities and infrastructure, 2-story versus 3-story addition, a separate construction academy building. But the one I want to highlight is the using concrete tilt wall with thin brick. We really think can save on both cost and schedule. We brought some thin brick here so you could actually see them and pick them up and look at them if you'd like to. But as you can see here on the cost side, it definitely saves a lot, as well as the schedule as well. And some other R&D opportunities that we're looking at. Our main focus in pre-con is going to be, again, working with Ziskovich and finding ways to optimize the scope to be able to create those dollars for the items that we would like to add to the project. Specifically the practice field down at that wooded area. Bringing that online early. We know how important that is to the school. We can do that in the early GMP process as well to really make sure that they have full use of that. Also looking at other things that we'd like to push into the scope or have prices an alternate would be a concession stand. We talked about the practice field relocation, looking for opportunities for parking, potentially a separate CTE building adjacent to the CEP and potentially a weight room adjacent to the gym. So a lot of options there, something we're excited to jump into and research. And the last one I want to bring up is the activation of the courtyard with the pavilion. We really think this would tie everything in very well together, and we're going to, again, work with the designers and the district to make sure we can do what we can to get that put in the original scope.
All right, thank you, Justin. So in close, why this team standing in front of you is the #1 choice. As we talked about at the beginning, keeping the Friday night lights shining, that's important. Our experience on the Boone High School campus really highlighted that. We worked with the coaching staff tirelessly to coordinate our schedules with theirs, understand when they had big rallies and events. We would close down our construction activities, open gates, make sure that we had good, proper signage to let folks know how to get to the stadium and those kind of things. That was really a huge key to that success for that particular project. Ensuring the safety and supervision is #1 for our team, especially on an active campus like a high school. You're dealing with, at Boone High School, there were over 3,000 students plus staff every single day within a city block. And that's just like this project. And so we understand the importance of, you've got drop-off periods, you've got events that happen on high school campuses, you have security concerns. So our team is well-versed in hand working with the school staff. If you have a lockdown, we have a lockdown. When you come out of that lockdown, all of your protocols are our protocols. So that's something that I think sets our team apart. And then maximizing the R&D opportunities. We haven't really talked about R&D, but that could stand for many things. It could stand for Rick Dunn. I mean, that's my name. Could be research and development. Could be, rob and duplicate if you want. But really, the key there is that we want to maximize all the best ideas to deliver the best completed project for this campus. And so we're going to work hand in hand, shoulder and shoulder with your design team, just as we have for many years within the Central Florida school community, building schools and making sure that the project that we walk away from 2 years from now is the best that it can be. So with that, I've got one last slide that I want to put up. This is Dusty Johns. If you don't know Dusty, he was the former principal at Boone High School. And after 3 years on that campus, building 2 new buildings, renovating a lot of the buildings, there were cafeteria and concession components, athletic components. He said he actually missed having our team around. That's a huge testament to the experience that you can expect with our team, being able to come to the end of a project like that. And he actually missed us. So I text with Dusty from time to time and keep up with him to this day. And that's the kind of experience that you're going to have with our team. So with that, we'll open it up for Q&A. We've got about a half a second left.
Perfect timing. Great presentation. Dr. Luke?
No, it was. I just appreciated the, you had included all of the elements for where you would stage and how you would use that current softball field, including the temporary road to get up to the site with some of the gate access. And I think you are the first one to speak about keeping the facility open on a Friday night, which is an important aspect. And I would even say through basketball season, which is equally as busy.
Yes,
Which will
absolutely.
be a big challenge. So anyway, you've answered my question.
Awesome. And I also will add, the opportunity to get that practice field, if we're able to incorporate that, get that built early on so that the school isn't having to go without practice area and practice facilities, would be a huge benefit. And we would focus on that in that early package, working with your design team if that's possible.
Well, and I appreciate that. I was going to ask about it, but then I can respect the fact that you want to work with the design team. So I think that that approach is smart, that you want to speak to them about that process. I know that there's been some firms that have toyed with the idea, and I know that that would be our best, what we would like. I'm looking at the principal, right? Because that is really important to have it on site for the athletes that are on campus. Anyway, so I appreciate that it's on your scope and that you're considering that and the budget that it takes with it. And anyway, that's why I didn't ask about that. But I am curious what your thoughts are. So look forward to hearing that in the future.
Mrs. Cunningham?
I found your presentation extremely interesting.
Oh, boy.
Actually, in a good way.
Awesome.
I heard you mention several things that I personally think are great. Having been a principal who built a school unoccupied and a principal at 2 schools where we built buildings while they were occupied, things like your quality walkthrough and some of the other things that you talked about, like people don't think about how important it is if you're having a fire drill, that you be a part of that. Those are the kind of things that just kind of go by the wayside, and you think about it once you're in the middle of it. So I found it extremely innovative, and I was impressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we participated in many fire drills on the Boone campus over the years.
Mr. Dudd?
I think you answered my questions during your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm totally good.
Perfect. I just have a couple. First, a comment. I love the idea of activating the courtyard at the end. That was in some of the architectural designs, and I just think that's a great idea to tie everything together between where that football field is in relation to the rest of campus and the covered dining areas and everything else. I just think that's a great way to do it. Yeah.
It was like, this is
Makes a no-brainer.
Tie
Yeah.
it together.
So love that idea. I had one question. You, I think, were the only one so far that was proposing 2 construction entrances. Can you kind of give me a little bit of an idea why you think that second one's valuable?
Sure. So the best practice is having two entrances. That's been proven in our past projects, and there's a couple of reasons. So our main construction traffic can be kept at the entrance furthest away from the bus drop-off, so that we come and go more quietly from the back of campus, if you will. That was the strategy we used at Boone High School. And then that second entrance provides an opportunity for larger deliveries that maybe can't make it up that steep hill from the grade change. There's a pretty big grade change.
You won't get concrete trucks.
And those will be very carefully sequenced so that they're not during the morning drop-off or the afternoon pickup periods. And so that's why we have the 2 entrances.
Makes sense. Thank you.
One other thing,
Go ahead.
they don't need to back up, so those big deliveries,
Yeah.
if they back up, they're going beep, 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 and you have neighbors right across the
Yeah.
street.
It's a circle drive, is what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Eliminates the backup alarms.
Point about that.
Awesome. And with Chris speaking up too, I wanted to comment as well that I appreciate that you guys are utilizing Chris as well, especially with him being part of the Ziskovich team for this project. I think that seamless integration across the board with cost control is going to make a big difference. So thank you guys for doing that.
Yes, it does prove, and as I mentioned, we're on our second 5-year term,
Second 5-year term.
having Chris work with our team, and he does provide a lot of continuity and insight.
Could I add, I actually
Please.
had hair when I met Chris.
Yes.
Chris's picture in here looked about 20 years old too without the beard, so.
It was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the only other question I have is really more around, I think it's bold and I would love for it to be able to happen, but you really think 70% local participation is possible? Because I mean, looking at the other three projects that you put in here was Tampa, Orlando, and Orlando, and I think we've got quality local subs to do it, but to the level to hit 70% is much bolder than what anybody else has said so far.
Yeah, so
how are you going to get there?
The key is to get those larger trades. So ESI is a local electrician here. We've done many projects with them. You know, the electrical piece of the project as a percentage of overall cost is pretty significant. So it's being strategic on those larger packages, and then for the opportunities where there maybe isn't a local firm that is the right fit for the project, partnering them with one of the larger firms within the region is the second tier strategy for gaining that participation. And then the third tier of that would be a lot of the local labor. So temporary labor services are often utilized on projects, both for temp labor and cleanup, but also in each of the subcontract trades. So pushing that down to the subcontractors who are going to be hiring temp labor forces throughout the course of the project, and politely requiring them to, get those from local vendors versus, a satellite, maybe, out of Orlando or Tampa.
Awesome. Any other questions?
and read this one. Because I say it's a problem.
Good morning.
Turn right, and then it will be back to you afterward.
Thank you.
And then we'll follow that by Q&A. All right?
Good morning. My name is Dominic Scorpio. I'm the president of Scorpio Corporation. Excited to be here today. I have over 30 years of experience in the construction industry. A good amount of that experience is in K-12 construction. And my role to the team really is just to ensure that all of the resources of our company are brought to bear to the success of your project. Over the course of my career, I've delivered, I believe, 9 schools for Lake County Schools in a prior life too, but as well as my most recent experience. So I'm glad to bring the experience to the table for you today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric Anderson as your project development team leader. I'll bring my 22 years of experience, majority of that work on K-12 projects and occupied campuses similar to Eustis High School, to really focus in on the vision, and then that vision, how that translates to the program, and ultimately your budget. I'm excited to be here today, and thank you guys for this opportunity.
Hey, good morning. My name is Aaron Rogers. I'm our field operations team leader. I've got 27 years of experience doing projects very similar to this. I actually started my career, my first major project was at Triangle Elementary, how many years ago now, but I'm excited to have the opportunity to be back with you guys and bring that experience again to Lake County.
Good morning. My name is Nate Watson. As a senior project manager, I'll be involved from the pre-construction project process all the way through project closeout, bringing my 20 years of experience, counting them up this morning, 15 K-12 projects delivered on active campuses in neighborhood settings. So I think that'll be valuable for this project.
Good morning. My name is Dan McDonough. I'm boots on the ground. I'm the safety, schedule, and quality control, and I have 46 years of experience.
We are ready. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity to deliver the additions to Eustis High School. Our outline for our presentation today is going to follow exactly as you requested. We're going to share with you our knowledge of the project, the proposed scope. We'll talk about our overall approach and methodology between the expertise of our team and the effectiveness and efficiency of what we bring to the table. I think will really add value to Lake County schools. We'll get into construction, materials, costing, and labor, and talk about how to control those costs. And lastly, we'll talk very specifically about your project, get into some of the logistics involved and some of the challenges associated with delivering. So we're going to jump right in and talk about our people. Obviously, at the center of our attention is the Lake County School District. Everything we do will be to advocate for you moving forward. We are your advocates. We are your construction manager and liaison. Working alongside Scovich with CT Shoe. We know them well. I think that we could collaborate and have a great partnership to bring value to this project. At the center of our team is Eric Anderson, and you'll hear from Eric soon, but then left to right, just to go over the organizational chart, Melissa Benton is our community liaison and MWBE participant. Then we have our pre-construction team to the left. Working alongside the middle there is our management team, then our field operations once we get into construction, and they are supported by several operation folks, one being accounting and administrative assistants, the other being a safety director that also oversees our quality, and then lastly, our technology and BIM coordinator to make sure that anything we do three-dimensionally you can see. So we've introduced ourselves. These are the folks that, if awarded, you'll be working with moving forward. You asked us briefly to talk about the capacity of our organization. In this market, we have about $150 million of bonding capacity, and that's really what sets the bar for the work we can do. Right now, we have $90 million in our backlog. This team is here today because they are available. We have the capacity, they have the experience, and we know we can deliver you a very, very good job. To summarize our team experience right now, we're active in 5 different school districts, including Lake County. And the one thing that I do want to stress here is that most of our customers, we build once, we build for them again. And we have a very, very high repeat business. 85% of our clients engage us to build, continue work year after year. And then to conclude our experience, 55 K-12 projects valued at over $1 billion. We have worked collectively in 22 school districts across Florida and South Georgia, and collectively as individuals in our company, we have delivered 9 projects for Lake County schools. We're glad to be here again today. All of them have been in redevelopment projects, certainly in neighborhood settings. Local team member participation and knowledge of the local market, you'll hear about our relationships within the local market. So excited about that.
So as we start off with the process, I'm going to go through these relatively quickly. Hopefully we can answer some questions that you may have at the end. But it really starts as why we're here. So with the vision of this project being a focal point for me, making sure that ultimately for Eustis High School that this project is continuing that legacy of finding the best in everyone. We know there's a lot of distinguished alumni, and also just want to make sure that we're always focused on that one Panther family. How that translates over to the actual bricks and mortar of the project, adding this 9th grade center to Eustis High, pulling over from Eustis Heights, and making sure that we get the entire program in that about $35.5 million construction budget, starting the first quarter of 26, wrapping up the middle of 27, to accommodate 600 additional students with a number of different elements on this campus. When we talk about our team and teams approach, this is just how we're aligned. So you'll see our leadership team stay engaged every step of the way from start to finish of the project, and the key is that no baton is passed along that process. As we get into pre-construction, we're really focused on the 2 most fixed commodities, which is time and budget. There at the center is our team, and we're going to work with every stakeholder from the design team throughout the rest of the community to make sure that we're doing our due diligence for the review and target process, adjusting as we need to as that design develops, and making sure that we verify things along the way and ultimately get to that guaranteed maximum price that not only captures all the scope of the project, but also has that budget of $35 million. That's something that we're going to keep intact the entire time. You asked us to touch on material escalation and possible labor shortages. What we've seen over the last few years really is that we aren't seeing the same level of inflationary increase in construction costs. It's actually flattened out a little bit over the last year, but there are some larger elements, whether it's switchgear or air handlers, possibly elevators that may take a little bit longer to get, and we'll make sure that we have an early release package in order to do that and work closely with the design team to get that stuff released in order to have the material here when we need it. Our success process is really how we control costs. It's also how we break down our schedules. On every project, these 6 buckets, site, structure, systems, skin, surface, and specialties, are all the areas that the scope of work will actually be in the project itself. So we found that this is a simple process in order to make sure that everybody understands from a cost perspective what's going into these projects. We dive a little deeper on the site specifically. Amongst our team, we have experts in those specific areas of the site. So whether it's utilities or earthwork or hardscape, we've got folks on our team that continue to work on that specific scope of work and are going to do the same thing here at Eustis High School. We talk about value-based decisions. Really, it's that conversation of needs versus wants and working with you guys and the design team in order to show graphically and also pictures in order to make sure that when it comes to quality and cost that we're clearly identifying where the opportunities are. And then we show those to you and we help guide you guys in that conversation and that process of design in order to make sure that we make value-based decisions. Here's also a spreadsheet that we use if the budget is seeming that it's going to be challenging. We're going to go through a pretty simple process here where we've got a spreadsheet broken up by success. We've got all the ideas out on the table, whether they're coming from you guys or from the design team or us, in order to have those conversations and clearly identify from an accounting perspective what's pending, what's been approved, what's been rejected, and ultimately the total at the bottom of this sheet just keeps us in line the entire time and make sure that we keep that budget front burner the entire project in pre-construction specifically. Here's just 2 examples. Most recently, a few case studies where we've saved 2 different districts some money through the VA process, whether it's changes to the grade of the site, going all the way to how the finishes are within the building, or at Keystone Heights, about $500,000 for some roof changes that were suggested, and also some flooring substitutes that save these districts some money. So we plan on doing that same thing here for you guys at Lake County. That's a whole lot of information to keep straight with the entire team. Procore is the the data vault that we use and really the system that we use in order to have real-time sharing and keep everybody on the same page.
So as we talk about constructability review, it's really working with the design team early on to figure out how we can do things a little bit more efficient. It's challenging them to say, is this the best product? Is this the right way to use this? There's a lot of tools we can use, whether it's physical exploration or the 3D modeling, to look for ways to build it better for less. Carrying that on into the document review, so now it's taking that information and making sure that it gets into the documents correctly, looking at the big picture, but focusing down into the details, because if we get that information and those directions correct, it's going to lead to fewer mistakes in the field, which is going to save time and money.
When we talk about our rate sub-rate price, again, through pre-con, that's really how we formally assemble the team. So we've got over 4,000 trade partners that we have relationships with, and we're always going to maximize that local workforce and diversity as well. So here in Lake County, we've got relationships with Ross Plumbing, Lake Glass, Paquette, ESI, and those are going to be folks that we're going to continue to talk to on this project, but also create some momentum and some excitement around the project by doing some outreach. When it comes to workforce development, again, we mentioned Militia, but it's just part of our strategic plan. It's how we're wired. It's the right thing to do, making sure that the local community, that we keep those tax dollars here locally in order to help these folks. And one differentiator is that we pay them on the 10th of the month. So regardless if we've been paid by Lake County Schools, we're going to pay these folks, and what that does is just eliminate that barrier to entry and any problems that may have to do with cash flow.
So safety is always going to be our number one priority. We're going to look at it 3 different ways, from a planning and scheduling side of things to the site logistics and workforce logistics. So from the planning and scheduling, you heard Eric talk about the 6S. We're going to break down and schedule those big building blocks, get it down further into a detailed construction schedule. But the big thing is, where are we at today? Where do we plan to be? How are we making those adjustments? Distributing that information to make sure that we use these tools to deliver a job on time, every time. From a site logistics standpoint, every job gets analyzed the same way. From a circulation, what's the safety of the people and pedestrians getting in and around the building, staff and students, the separation side of it, the fences, barricades, barriers that need to be in place, and then the isolation and infrastructure, especially on a campus like this that has existing utilities. We want to know where their shut-off valves are, where the utilities are, so we can minimize our impact and remain flexible. From a workforce standpoint, it's knowing who's coming to the job site before they get there, doing the proper background checks and badging, setting orientation when they get to the site. So we're kind of setting that standard of what we expect to work on our job site safely, whether it's daily safety huddles, weekly toolbox talks, a lot of tools in our arsenal to make sure people stay safe every day.
All right, so once we get into the construction phase, my primary focus is going to be on cost control, managing risk, ensuring that all the schedule values, we know where all the dollars and cents are, real time. Really want to focus on paying on the 10th of the month. We touched on it briefly, but what that means is Lake County Schools is going to get the best bid, the lowest bid on bid day as a direct cost savings, because they don't have to wait on the money. Those subs know they're going to get paid, they're going to get paid timely. When Dan needs those resources on site, we don't struggle with manpower like some of our competition. When we call, they come to the project for us. Owner direct purchase, we're well versed. $2.1 million in tax savings is what we delivered to our clients last year, and we target $550,000 in tax savings for this, and we feel good about delivering. Whether it's weekly OAC meetings, town hall meetings, daily status emails, every stakeholder is going to know exactly where the project is and exactly where we're going. Keep everybody healthy and engaged.
Quality control starts right from the onset. It's written into the contract, so the subcontractors know exactly what their expectations are. We review the information with them and go through the submittals and the shop drawings. We'll hold coordination meetings, we do pre-installation meetings, we do mock-ups, so that everybody can know exactly what the standard's going to be. And then we punch as we go to minimize the closeout period at the end of the project. When it comes to warranty, we handle the owner training. The attic stock, we do schedule quarterly follow-up inspections. If informal for you guys, if there's any issues, you call, text, or email, and we'll come out and address it.
And while he's doing that owner training, I'm going to make sure all the paperwork is delivered timely. So before those owner trainings are done, you've got all your owner's manuals, you've got your as-built, all the lien releases to make sure that everything goes well for the audit process.
We're going to talk about how we're going to deliver that vision on this project. And it really starts out with a couple key priorities. On an active campus, we're always going to keep safety and security as our priority number one at the top of the list. This is a historic campus. We're well aware of that, surrounded by some active, engaged neighborhood folks. And we're going to make sure that we continue to keep them excited about the project all through communication every step of the way. So when we talk about that engagement, that's really embracing that, keeping it positive, encouraging folks in the beginning to come in, know what's going on. Some of those site tours, possibly with the Construction Academy, getting some of those future students or future workforce students out on site, see this project come together, and just a number of ways that we can maintain that engagement in the entire process.
So here's an aerial photo of the school itself. We would direct traffic come in off Orange Avenue and stay to the east to minimize the impact, heading all the way down the south end of the project, a single point of entry down there at the playfield so that we can control access in and out of the site. As far as the separation and fence, the entire compound, where again, like I said, with the one fence, a trailer, everything's down at the south end, everybody comes in and out that one access point, so that there's nobody intermixing with students and staff. As far as the utilities, the isolation, knowing those valves, they did a good job planning for this future building. So finding those valves, working to make sure they work, and then the well down at that south end, maintaining that and keeping that open as well.
So knowing that traffic is always a concern around these existing campuses, we went ahead and did a little bit of preliminary studying on when are the times that we're going to be able to get into the site, get staff and deliveries into the site, when are the times that we're going to have to avoid that. So at the beginning of school, when they're starting to let in, it's around that 7:20 time frame. Early before that, we'll get into the site. In the afternoons after students are let out and EDP type stuff. So the big thing is how do we make sure we minimize our impact? We know that there's a lot of students and staff moving around this campus, and those are the type of things we're going to look at to make sure we do just that. Continuing on the occupied campuses, these are 5 examples, recent project examples for 5 different districts, very similar scope, active campuses, additions, redevelopments to them that have queuing issues, that have adjacent track and field type of concerns. These are the projects that we excel at. This really mirrors the project that we're talking about today.
As far as the site, it's a very rough site as far as grade goes. It's up and down, it's all over the place. So maintaining that and getting set up with the silt fences to be able to control the water is critical. Maintenance of traffic, I know there's discussions about possible parking deck and walkover, crossover to help the students getting from the parking lots to the school. The stormwater retention is huge, and then the student drop off and pickup, maintaining that clear path at all times.
All right, so from our analysis, we do feel like tilt wall lends itself very well to this project and analyzing it. Obviously, this is a historic campus. We can work with the design team, whether it's thin brick, basically bring in those elements to maintain a continuity in the look and the benefits of the tilt wall, and we can coordinate that very well. Dan and I have some extensive experience with those types of projects, and we think it works well here.
As far as the systems, the ERP is essential to make sure that all the equipment and materials are here when we need them, making sure that the infrastructure is in place, reviewing the documents to make sure that the school standards are met in the design, and that it's clearly communicated so that the infrastructure is all where it needs to be.
Okay, a couple of the big components from the sidewalk, we understand how critical it is for that outdoor dining area, the food service coordination, making sure that that flows, it's an inviting area for the students, it works well for the faculty and staff. The weight room's going to be a big component also to ensure that your top-notch athletic programs continue to maintain that. And then we're going to have to join the entire campus together with canopies and with the grades and elevations. We're going to be able to focus on that and make sure that we make it flow seamlessly. From a project schedule, we've already developed your detailed schedule, so we're going to have a building pad ready by May, structures complete September, and we're going to be dried in November. So we're going to do the surfaces, all those finishes inside and specialties end of April, and then substantial completion in May, because we know how critical it is to get the school in on the front end of the summer, give you guys the opportunity to get IT and everybody through their furniture. It works really well. And one other item I want to point out here is those existing bus loop and existing work basically to make sure that we do that stuff on the front end of the summer, so you have the benefit of using that all the way through that next school year.
As we round this out with our cost model here, broken up by success, we've got a historical cost database that we've used to already model this out for this project. So you can see those 6 different categories. What this allows us to do is really get focused in on where we can provide that highest rate of return and get some feedback through the entire design team or the entire team through this process. So you can see your systems here at about 40%, and then second to that is structure. So those will be the areas that we focus. And the good news is in the high-low range, square foot costs are about $430 a square foot, and on the low side and the high side at $550 a square foot. So we're in budget, we're ready, we're excited about this project, and we're looking forward to rolling up our sleeves and getting further along in this process.
So that concludes the formal portion of our presentation. I've got 2 minutes. If we could reserve that for a closing comment, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Great presentation. Dr. Luke, any comments?
No, they answered my question in regards to staging. And then it was my understanding you were looking at that Bonstock Road for the entrance and exit to your construction site. Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Did you guys know you introduced yourselves in the order that you're standing? Oh, that's him, that's him, that's him, that's him. Right.
Thank you for noticing. A lot of preparation. Thank you.
Actually, you answered my question. So thank you. Good presentation.
Y'all worked on Lincoln Park, right? Yes, sir. My perception was that project ran behind or something along those lines. Is that right? Is that accurate? What caused that? Yeah, we had some challenges when it came to getting some of the material. We had some delays, mainly on the glass. So there was just some things that we definitely had to overcome there. And I think we phased out that project in a way that we were able to actually work and get some of the areas of the project finished in order to, not completely delay the whole project. If you want to speak to that specifically.
I mean,
Aaron has one familiarity with that project inside there, limited, yeah.
This existing building had some skeletons in there that nobody knew about until we got into it. So as we went through construction, just trying to work with the design team and the team at Lake County to figure out what was the best thing to do with those skeletons. Ultimately, sometimes it was to do the right thing, took a little bit longer than what I think was originally planned, but at the end of the day, it was the right thing to do for the project.
All right. Any sort of lessons coming out of that in terms of how that would apply to work on this project?
The biggest thing for me, anytime you get out of an active campus, over 30 years of this, is the more time that we're allowed to do exploratory work and really see what we're dealing with on the front end of things, the better we can help the design engineering team solve things before we get to construction. So the lessons learned are always going to be start earlier, investigate more, get a true solid understanding of what we're getting into, and try to heat off those, as Aaron keeps referring to, the skeletons and exposing skeletons.
They were like literal skeletons.
Yeah, just
metaphorically,
Okay, all right, thanks.
Mr. Matthias?
No, good.
I had a couple questions. Of the 9 projects for Lake County Schools, is that past lives as well? Because it's the only project, significant one so far at Lincoln Park. Is Scorpio correct?
Yeah, that was introduction back to Lake County.
I got you.
We were glad to be here.
Perfect, understood. And you were CPPI in the past, correct? Okay, perfect, with so that answers that question. One that I had, one of the slides early on was in the pre-construction part on the value-based decisions. Can you scroll back to that one real quick? It's way back.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. And is that just a high-level example? So like we're going with tilt wall and thin brick, which I agree with seems to be the best option. But like, for example, on the structure, we've got the cold form steel as the quote-unquote cheapest option and going up. Is that laid out the same way you guys look at it as well, or is this just kind of a filler slide?
That's correct. So at each one of those categories from success, if you look at from top to bottom, is from site to specialties, and left to right is exactly what you just talked about. So cost will incrementally go up as we choose different systems, and we work through that with the design team to provide that feedback in order to make the most value-based decisions, in order to make those, provide you with some options, and then have you guys select what's most important, what that needs versus wants.
Now, what you are seeing there is So for instance, let's use site.
Yep.
When it comes to hard paving, landscaping, you would see options for all of those, but we want to show you the categories.
Sure.
That we address as things. The finished hardscaping, landscaping, you see the site, you see the utilities.
Yep.
But really, every one of those categories, we do the same thing. We constantly evaluating cost versus life cycle.
Sure.
That's how you make the decision.
All good. No, that makes sense. I just want to make sure I followed that correctly. And last question, you guys put a lot in there quickly, so thank you. One thing that wasn't mentioned in there that I'm curious about is our construction academy at Eustis High School. Do you think you can utilize them at all throughout the, not necessarily on building the school, but how can they be engaged in the project?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on it a little bit here in the engagement, and just something that we embrace when it comes to workforce development on any campus where we've got the potential to bring those students in. We want to make sure we do that. It's twofold, right? It gives them a vested interest in their new facility, and it also is doing the right thing for the community. So that was one of the things with site tours. Dan has a lot of experience doing that. Obviously, we're going to make sure all the insurances and waivers and whatnot are in place, and people have the right proper PPE. But yeah, that's something that we're going to make sure that we really bring into this project as much as possible.
And lastly, I might have missed it, but do you have a plan for putting the practice field back or putting that somewhere into the design?
Yeah,
I apologize.
No, it is a great question. So down there where the practice field is, we've also talked with Renee at Siskovich, and the conversation could potentially be next to that actual track, or maybe in the wooded area to the south side of the track. So we don't have that shown here, but it is something through those 5 different site options that they've given that we've talked to them a little bit about in order to see how we can entertain that and keep the practice field, or prioritize the practice field, I should say, right out of the gate.
Awesome. That's all I've got. Board, any other questions?
Good.
You guys have any closing comments you'd like to add?
Yes, we're through. Just really to summarize where we are today, and thank you, by the way. Someone obviously shared with you that I was with CPPI. I was a principal of CPPI. Chuck Perry was my mentor for a lot of years, and he's an incredible builder, so I certainly learned from one of the best. But ultimately, I want to share with you our experience working with the Alachua County school districts. Alachua County, when they passed their half-cent sales tax, they chose 5 schools to redevelop, substantial redevelopment. They chose our company to do their transition school, 900-student station, temporary school that we did over a summer. That's the kind of trust they put in us. They also awarded us Howard Bishop, which was the largest school that they released, and then the next round they awarded us the next largest school, which was Westwood Middle School. The scope of those projects align very, very well to what we're talking about here. Then in Clay County, Sumter County, Marion County, Lake County, because we are doing another small project for Lake County. I'll just reinforce again the fact that when we go to work for repeat businesses, people that have a recurring construction project, they do indeed invite us back, and we're thankful for that. And then obviously the work we did at Lincoln Park, while yes, it did have some challenges, the important part for us is that construction is not lacking of problems. It's how you solve those problems and how you become a team with the people to solve those problems in a very, very effective way. So we've certainly enjoyed our relationship with Lake County Schools and hope to continue that. So that concludes the formal portion of our presentation. I'll leave you with, I believe this team, the people in front of you have the relationships, the history, the experience to do an incredibly good job for you. The strategy, the knowledge, the confidence that we have in this type of work, I believe is second to none. All we ask is that you have the confidence in us to prove to you that we can again deliver for you. Thank you very much.
Great presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I kept trying to get a word in it first.
I keep reading its previous story.
Questions, comments?
Everybody else coming back in? Yep, they're flowing in.
I'm just going to say that my expectation when we took on this task of making these tough decisions is that we would be like down to 3, not 5. However, I totally understand why it is 5, because so closely aligned and closely qualified. And so I appreciate you bringing us all 5 to the board. Thank you.
Dr. Luke, any comments?
My mouth is full.
Go back. Ms. Cunningham, any comments?
I would just like to thank all of our guests today. We really appreciate your interest in Lake County. I think all of you gave presentations that you should be very proud of, and I appreciate your willingness to compromise.
And hope to continue that. So that concludes the formal portion of our presentation and leave you with, I believe this team, the people in front of you have the relationships, the history, the experience to do an incredibly good job for you. The strategy, the knowledge, the confidence that we have in this type of work, I believe is second to none. All we ask is that you have the confidence in us to prove to you that we can again deliver for you. So thank you very much.
Great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. You can stay. Oh, great.
Delivering right away.
I think they should do it in school, coming down. I kept trying to make a word out of the first letter.
I keep reading as prehistoric.
Questions, comments?
Everybody else coming back in? Yep, they're flowing in.
I'm just going to say that my expectation when we took on this task of making these tough decisions is that we would be like down to 3, not 5. However, I totally understand why it is 5, because so closely aligned and closely qualified.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you bringing us all 5 to the board.
Thank you.
Dr. Luke, any comments?
My mouth is full.
We'll come back. Ms. Cunningham, any comments?
I would just like to thank all of our guests today. We really appreciate your interest in Lake County. I think all of you gave presentations that you should be very proud of, and I appreciate your willingness to compromise.
Mr. Dodd?
Yeah, they were outstanding presentations. Certainly, I think a lot of folks are very close to one another. I think one of the things that stands out for me is just how you can work on an occupied campus with minimal disruptions to the students and the faculty that are there, and to create a seamless experience in terms of making it look like the building belongs there.
Can I have one more comment?
You certainly can. Dr. Luke, you got any first real quick?
I do. I could probably talk for a little while, having a current Eustis High School student who was in one of these books, and then having a recent graduate who was in another one of these books. The school is very near and dear to my heart. My husband is a graduate of Eustis High School as well. I was a Tavares Bulldog, and I will tell you, when my children started at Eustis High School, it was a lot to yell, "Go Panthers!" Like it was almost. But now it's hard for me to even cheer on other teams. So I totally understand the transition and things we do for our kids. But I know I've experienced firsthand some of the challenges with 2 campuses, as my own kids have had those same challenges. And the Curtright campus has been a blessing as a little mini campus and a family for freshmen. But man, in so many instances, it's been a challenge for curriculum and for administration and for opportunities. And so we're really looking forward to the opportunities that this campus, or this addition to the campus, is going to bring for students. And so I would just like to personally thank all of you for wanting to be a part of that, the opportunities it's going to bring for the students there. And for the community, I appreciate the respectful nature that you're approaching the project, not just for faculty and students, but also for the community, the neighborhood. You can see that school is embedded right in the middle of very tiny streets. They're not even like normal sized streets. They're very skinny. And then there's a lot of activity that goes on in there. It is a very complicated project. So we're excited about the time and the attention. And we know it's going to be beautiful. And it's just going to be the pride of Eustis. Eustis High School is the pride of Eustis. And so we are grateful for that. And we're thankful that you guys are going to be a part of it. And you're laughing. And I have to say one more thing, that there is a really sad part of that softball field going away. You guys know that the last time that softball field was used was for the 2021 state championship team. So I just want to put that out there one more time. That is like sacred ground. So it's going to maintain sacred ground, but a piece of my heart will be there forever. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Luke. Mr. Mathias, any comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
She said it all.
That's good.
The only thing that I would add is, 5 excellent presentations. Really hard to pick in these things. Kind of what stood out to me across the board was when they're all so close, I'd love to try to find a way to share the love a little bit and look at vendors that haven't done as much work for us as recently. In addition to really looking at the cost control, both in-house and out-of-house, and how that goes across the board with the architect chosen. We've got a lot of wants on this campus in addition to a lot of needs, and I want all those wants to happen.
Me too.
Especially that practice field, making sure that gets done. So those clear plans really helped make a very tough decision a little less tough, but still challenging for me. I mean, this is razor margins between the 5, but thank you all for your interest, and looking forward to getting this one started.
There was actually a 6th that I couldn't include.
Oh, yeah, let's not do that.
No, I'm just
5 at the most.
No, it speaks to how
Sure.
close they are. So I have to
I will say this, because it's that, at one time, at Lakeport, we tried a design-build model, and that was really the cohesiveness between the contractor controlling the architectural, controlling the costs, and the GMP. The one that came closest to that today, in my opinion, was CPPI, because they had that continuity of the cost control guy who's working with the architect, moving right into their team. Just so that's the razor thinness of this for me.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right. Y'all
So
need anything?
when you're ready, I'll tally the score. Wow.
You knew that was coming.
You guys keep impressing me.
Thank you. I always take forever, I know.
Don't start your clock, though.
I'm going to stand up. Come on. Whoops.
Board member. Do you want to do board member comments or anything?
I think it's a great idea. Dr. Luke, any board member comments?
I do have board member comments. How did you tell? I'm totally kidding. I just wanted to say congratulations to Mrs. Bryant. We had a good time at the Teacher of the Year event, and we're glad that you're feeling better, Mr. Dodd.
Thank you.
I knew when you didn't show up that you must be feeling very, very bad to miss that event, because it's one of our favorites. We talk about it annually. And thank you to the Ed Foundation. They do an amazing job, and our amazing sponsors. Just an outstanding evening. I wanted to tell Leesburg High School pulled out an Olympic regional championship win this weekend at Gainesville High School. I don't know, everything runs together at this point in time. But they are just a stellar team. I'm looking forward to seeing them at state. The state weightlifting championship will be February 14th, and we have several athletes from around Lake County schools that will be competing in that. So we wish all of them the very best of luck on the Day of Love. So that's all I have.
Perfect. Ms. Cunningham?
Again, I'd like to thank all the vendors who made presentations this morning. I'd also like to mention the reading that we did this past week. I thoroughly enjoyed my visits to the schools that I went to. I also want to yet again thank Dr. Seuss for remembering that there is a National School Board Member Month. That was very, very creative and very much appreciated, her gesture. And I get to tell them because they don't know what she did. She called all of us and got our favorite book, and then she purchased that book as a gift to the school, and we went there and wrote messages to the students in the books. So, you were going to talk about that?
We're just trying to find out.
Someone is giving me a hard time about not recognizing School Board Appreciation Month, and I said I think it coincides with Superintendent Appreciation. I'm waiting for that one.
Okay.
So,
Well, whoever that person was that was giving you a hard time, they need to lead the celebration.
There we go. Love that idea.
But
Mr. Chair?
I was the one making faces, but I'll certainly help.
we are very happy that you would like to be a part of Lake. It's a very special place, as I'm sure you know, and we look forward to seeing your faces again real soon. I'm done.
Oh, okay, thank you. I got to tell you, this was last week was a rough week to be sick, because there was a lot of fun things going on that I unfortunately had to miss. Reading at schools and Teacher of the Year, and so I kind of lived vicariously through all the photos that y'all have shared and posted, and it just really got me thinking about how thankful I am of this group and how active we are as board members to be out there, and so like if maybe one person doesn't show up, hopefully they don't notice because y'all picked up the slack and did great. So anyway, thank you all for all that. Appreciate it very much.
Mr. Mathias?
I'm good.
Similar, it's always hard going last. Ditto, ditto, ditto. Great job as always. And congratulations, Ms. Bryant, on a very well-deserved Teacher of the Year honor. Ollie, you got us an answer yet?
Yes.
All right.
CPPI
Okay.
is the winner.
Congratulations to CPPI.
Thanks, guys.
Superintendent, any comments?
I do have just a few things. If you are looking for something to do this week, we have lots of opportunities for you. Science fair, middle and high school, is Tuesday. The judging is from 7:30 to 12:30. I know some of y'all always participate in the judging, but the awards ceremony is Tuesday night. These are all at the Venetian Center. Thank you for helping us to acquire that. And the awards is from 5:30 to 7:30. That's middle and high. And then Thursday is elementary, same times, 5:30 awards. Also, Friday is the spelling bee, and it starts at 10 a.m. at the Eustis Community Center. And then Thursday at 1:30 is the celebration and recognition ceremony for Lake Minneola High School as being designated as a National Avid Demo Site, if you're interested in going out there for that event. So a couple of things for your calendars if you have some free time this week.
And then Mr. Cole didn't want to leave you out. Any attorney comments?
No, sir.
All right. Any objection to adjourning? We are adjourned. Thank you,
Thank you, everybody.